all lies will be exposed.
Hello, everyone. This is a unusual Hardlands Media special because I was supposed to show up on another person's show, which was going to be a fun science fiction back and forth. But I believe that the show must go on. Now, there were some technical errors, and I must pray to the Omnissiah, but a show must go on. So, first time ever, this is a Hardlands Media special about science fiction leadership, but I'm not hosting today. And the first time in a long time on my platform, I am not going to be the captain. I'm going to give it up to the original host who invited me to be on his show. So everyone, please, Hardlands Media audience, welcome for the first time on Hardlands Media. Please introduce yourself to our viewers and subscribers, because I think I've seen you on the Larry Sharp Show.
Just a couple of times, I think.
Just a couple of times.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Voss, also known as Old Man Voss, or you may see me as No Sound Bites Allowed. The day job, like for Kit, the day job is political commentary. And that's what we both do that. And it's been a hectic time during the election, but in my downtime, and every Saturday at 3 p.m., I do the Old Man Voss, which is on YouTube and Rumble, a few others. And this is when we just talk about sci-fi, movies, comic books, TV, you name it, all things sci-fi. I love to do that. I play some video games as well. But every Saturday at 3 p.m., what I'm trying to do is to reach out to people, regardless of politics, regardless of life, job, anything else. And we go with a top 10 list of some aspect of sci-fi. And it's a challenge. My top 10 list versus Kit's top 10 list, in this case, on leaders in sci-fi. And we're going to see what you, the audience, think is the best list. And you can tell us in the chat and afterwards in the comments, tell us, oh, you left out this person, or you should put in that person, or, Kit's list sucked, Mike's was the best. Whatever you might want to believe, you can tell us both in the chat, super chats, however you want to do it.
Done
We want
deal.
to hear it. So that's kind of the basic rundown there. We were going to do on my channel. Tech issues happen, but you know what? Marine Corps. We go over, under, through, around, whatever it takes, get the mission done. And that's what we did. And thank you, Kit, for helping with the tech. So we're going to get it done.
And by the way, I just want to throw this out here too. There's a old man Voss, Mike. You have my permission if you want to download this video and do it as a YouTube premiere on your channel, so that way you can have it up there too. Because look, a show must go on, and I'm gonna probably be reaching out to Faye, be like, hey, we tried to do this. So over the week, Faye is gonna get a phone call from yours truly, because this can't happen again. But nonetheless, enough of me talking. Mike, lead the way. Semper Fidelis. I hand over the command ship to you.
Not a problem. So the great thing is now we know great. We found the problem. Now we find the solution. Future, never a problem. So the great thing is what I usually like to do, and this is kind of for my audience, but also for yours, is we always like to start off before we do anything else is a little bit of who is Kit Cabello? I know, political commentator. What else? So, who's Kit?
Who am I? Well, let's see. 4 generations deep in the city of Chicago. I'm including my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my mother, myself. Longtime resident of this city. It's a cold, unforgiving city that's a concrete jungle, but it is my home. Born and raised on the south side of Chicago. My mom raised me with the help of my grandpa. My father died before I was born. He served in the Marine Corps, so he's a fellow Marine like us in Vietnam. Went through a lot of hardships, myself and my brother and my mom, my grandpa, but we remain resolute no matter what. After high school, my mom sat me down and said, Kit, you have to make a decision now because you're going to be an adult. What are you going to do? Go to college, which I did actually get accepted into Columbia College. But when I saw the price tag, and this was, and by the way, folks, this is like 2000 and no, wait, it was like 2003 because 2003 is when I graduated. And I just said no bueno. And so if those, and remember, college wasn't that it was expensive, not that expensive as it is now. I said no to it. So my mom said, well, either you get a job or you do something because you're not sitting on your butt all the time. And I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to join the Marine Corps, which scared them up.
Wait a minute. So the recruiter didn't come to you. You went to the recruiter?
I went to the recruiter. So it's So it's one of those things where I knocked on the door. Okay.
You know what?
No recruiter came to me. I
gotta tell you.
I knocked. Go ahead.
I did the same thing with my recruiter. I was in, now, mind you, I'm a little bit older. So this was back in 86.
Okay.
That's 1 year after.
That's 1 year after I was born. That's 1 year after I was born.
Okay. Like I said, I'm a little older. That's why I'm the old man. But I was walking through my high school, 12th year. I'm walking through Evander, and I walked up to the recruiter who was standing there. And now, mind you, my father, Vietnam vet, so got family. My grandfather's in World War II. So I walked up to him and I go, I know what I can do for the Marine Corps. What can you do for me? That's how we started the conversation.
Oh, that's not how my conversation went. I was like, hi, I'm here to join the Marine Corps. Like a dog.
No, I was just like, no, I know what I can do for you. What are you guys going to do for me? And like a champ, he didn't blink an eye. Let's talk. Okay. And that got me into the Marine Corps. So that's how it's always interesting to see how different Marines get in.
Yeah. If you want to know the funny part is, see, the thing is, so my mom was helping me train, doing a lot of running and exercising. But
Mhm.
see, when my grandma found out that I was joining the Marine Corps, she's like, "Kid, don't do it. Don't sign the papers. I'll pay for your books. I'll pay for your tuition." And my grandma, I love her. May she rest in peace. She died in 2018.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I told her, no, grandma, you're not doing it. But and she was adamant. I'll do this. I'll pay for this. I was like, no, because the last thing I want to do is take money from my grandma, who, mind you, lives all the way in California, just before California ever began sinking like the Titanic. Hell, I think the Titanic would have lasted
Right.
longer than the state of California. But nonetheless, so my grandpa, he was proud of me. My mom was nervous. My brother was shocked. A lot of people were shocked because what you may not know, a little Wikipedia fact, is originally I wanted to be a paleontologist and study dinosaurs. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I was actually
Jurassic Park got you.
yeah. No, I actually Jurassic Park didn't get me. I found Jurassic Park. I was actually on 3 dinosaur expeditions, 2 to Montana, 1 in South Dakota when I was in high school. So I was part of 3 different expeditions. So I found my fair share of dinosaur fossil fragments. But that was it. So me joining the Marine Corps was not on anyone's bingo card, but yet my family has a long history of being in the military. My great grandfather was part of the polar bear expedition during World War II into Russia. So he was part of like the Far East campaign. So he served in the First World War, and I actually found his old dog tag when I was cleaning up my.
Oh,
yeah, I did. I still have it, and I found a lot of his photos of pre-unified China and before the Soviet Union, because he was in that region where the Trans-Siberian Railroad was being made, and when the Empire of Japan was still around. So
okay.
I found a lot of these old photos. I have his World War I dog tag, which I am keeping for myself. You know, it's like. There
So
we go.
Was he one of the guys fighting in Chosen River?
No. Chosin River was the Korean War. This is World War One.
Oh, right.
World War One. Wait before that theater.
That's remembering the location. I'm not remembering the time frame.
Yes. So Korea at the time was still occupied in a colony of the Empire of Japan. So joined the Marine Corps. My recruiter was actually my recruiter. Everyone says, "Oh, my recruiter lied to me." My recruiter told me the truth. He was like, I remember one day because I was the most fit person in his group, because everyone else was always trying to do like BS excuse, like, oh, I got a broken ankle, I got this or that. He just one day turned to me and said, "Listen, you're either gonna hate the Marine Corps or love the Marine Corps. I'm not gonna promise you anything. If you do your 4 years and you want out, here's what you got to do. Shut up, do what you're told, no more, no less. And those 4 years will go by and then you're out. If you want to stay in, fine." He didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't promise me anything. And he was pretty honest with me. And I wish him all the best, him and his family. He was 100% with me. Went to boot camp in California. So I'm a Hollywood Marine. Hollywood.
That's right.
I thought I was going to go to Paris Island.
How did you not?
I don't know.
You're east of the Mississippi.
That's what I said.
You're supposed to go to the island.
That's what I said. I was like, hey, aren't I supposed to go to the island? Like, no, you're going to Hollywood. Like, oh. And let me tell you something. Like, here's the thing. I know that there's a fair share of horror stories in Paris Island about the sand fleas, all the bugs and everything. I get it. Because I was stationed in North Carolina after SOI. But I got to tell you, boot camp in California, it's also a torture, because you're in the middle of the city. And as you have your drill instructor hazing you, you're doing your push-ups, your pull-ups, your 3-mile run, and these guys yell at you. You see Air Tahiti flying over your head, Air Hawaii flying over your head. You're seeing any airplane flying anywhere, and you're thinking, oh, mother of God, I wish I was on that airplane.
Okay.
Why aren't I here?
You know what? I hear about all the Hollywood boys talking about Mount Mother. You know what?
Mount MF? Yeah, I know about that one.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but you know what? There's nothing quite like seeing the Crocs right outside. Literally, you're doing laundry. You're right out of the laundry station. You look over and they're like, "Yeah, you want to go out the Marine Corps? You will get out with all the honors. You all get a perfect. All you gotta do, and you all made it past swim qual 2 miles. You all can do it. We guarantee you can swim 2 miles." Right that way, pointed exactly where the city was. So it goes right on over. All you got to do is beat those guys right down there. We look down, there's 5 gators.
There you
go. 5
go.
gators looking right up at us. He's like, if you can swim past them and make it 5 miles, 2 miles right there, you're out. You're done. You're going to be out with honors. Yeah, no one took that.
No bueno. Yeah. So yeah. And then because Mount MFR, I think is if unless I'm getting senile, that was School of Infantry. And for those who don't know, School of Infantry is like college, but it's more booze, more swearing, and more guns. So yeah, and like I thought I was going to be East Coast, but no, they said no, you're going to go to California, and who am I to challenge the orders? I mean, I was a recruit, then got out, boot camp, did my 3 months of fun, then did my additional 2.5 months in SOI, unless I'm getting senile, which I think I am, and then I get my orders. I'm going to be part of 1st MEB Anti-Terrorism Battalion.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was my unit, and our sigil was because Anti-Terrorism Battalion was created in response after 9/11, of course,
Right.
and our sigil was the Pentagon, the fields in Pennsylvania, and the 2 towers. So that was our
cool.
sigil. Yeah. Well, then later we became 2-9, but that's a whole other story. I you know what? I stopped even asking questions about why.
That's the brain boys up in DC, and who knows
DC,
what the hell they're thinking.
Yeah, so from California, then go to North Carolina, and look, North Carolina, I love you, but if you ever see me back in North Carolina again, you know I effed up because 4 years living in North Carolina is fine, but Jacksonville, North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, I'll do this out. So listen,
the rifle range on Lejeune was fun. I had some fun there.
It is. No, are you kidding me? There are plenty of adventures. Then and for those of you who don't know, my MOS was Rifleman 0300, and
isn't that everybody? But yeah. Basic grunt.
But I was 03. I was original 0300. So 0311 infantry, and what happened then? Oh yeah, obviously did my 2 tours in Iraq. First tour was in Baghdad in the Green Zone. And that was a whole other story altogether because, we're doing site security and anybody who's anybody was in the Green Zone. So you have generals, you have admirals, you have ambassadors, you have foreign diplomats, you have other security forces there.
Photo ops and prep and all that.
The press, anybody who's anybody. But I get to say this and take that, Fox News. I was living in the basement before the millennial phrase, millennials live in basements, was taken on. I was living in Saddam Hussein's basement.
Oh, there you go.
I was living in one of his palaces in the basement. And
that's cool.
yeah. Actually, to this day, for those of you who don't remember, Gen Z, you don't have this one anymore, but those Polaroid disposable cameras, I think I have about 2,000 or maybe 1,500 photos of my time in the greens in the Green Zone. So
one of these days we got to get together. I got to see that.
I have to get them all digitalized, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be a whole pain in the butt on how to do that. So I got all that settled. I even have the old statues before they got destroyed of Saddam Hussein, wearing that battle.
The big metal. Yeah. His little glory ego mementos. That's really cool.
And Torwin's asking, did you find any his gold bars? No, but before it went away, I actually caught a glimpse of one of his golden toilets, but they were taking it out. It was one of his golden toilets, and I wish I took a dump in it. That would have been great. But there you go. That's something else.
Well, okay. So the movie Three Kings didn't happen for you, but okay.
No. But I will have to say this. Doing site security in Baghdad in the Green Zone, like it was something. And then because I think eventually our commanders realized that, hey, these guys are getting bored, and we had more problems with Americans than we did with any foreign nationals or any Iraqis. We did not. Oh man, sometimes Americans cause us the most trouble, but that's a story for another day. But eventually they had us do patrolling on the Karbala Peninsula. I believe that's what it's called. And it was like in the red zone. And that's where, like, I guess, I forget what the early name of the first Christians were, but this is like, the original, or at least original branch in the Middle East. And that's where they were living at. And we were doing site security with the army patrolling in the red zone for like a whole week. Because it was like, hey, man, are we just going to be just sitting on our butts just doing site security all the time? Here, check. I mean, it was just.
Well, they got to the red zone. You weren't bored then.
No. Actually, are you kidding me? We're all excited for it. But again, here's the thing: everybody came home alive and well in one piece, and then
That's
we
the
did it.
biggest part.
Yes, and that's the best thing because same thing happened on our second tour. Everybody came home alive and well in one piece. And my second tour, we did security in this place called Ashraf, which the story on this one is that
Heard about that.
it was a city, a town, with all Iranian population. They were people who escaped from the Ayatollahs after the Ayatollah and his regime took over in Iran when they kicked out the Shah.
In
And
80s,
and Saddam let them in, but Saddam had this caveat like, okay, you guys are going to do what I say, which meant they were part of his little secret political, or at least some part of them were with his secret political police to,
right.
round up anybody who was against Saddam's regime. Obviously, in 2003, when the invasion happened, I was not part of that. I came in much later, way much later. Like 2006 is when we got to Ashraf. They dropped all arms. They're like, hey, we want amnesty. Obviously, there's more complications to that, but they wrote their treaty, whatever it is, was the U.S. government. And we did site security, protect the population in Ashraf. So I guess the old joke that we would say is we protected terrorists from other terrorists. So yes, which again, our command was like, hey, here's what you got to do. Burn all your letters because they'll go through because there was a concern of like, so burn all your letters, burn anything, burn addresses, don't save it, don't throw it in the garbage. Got that fire pit, burn it. So we did site security there, and we were there during the winter. Like, because my first tour, we were in the summer, which again, 120, 130 degrees, drink water. During the winter, oh man, winters were brutal, especially those rains.
People never thinks about how cold it gets.
Oh, in the desert
regions, it gets cold.
Oh my god. So yeah, that's what we did. And again, we all came home. Everything was fine. So after that, 2008, I got out, honorable discharge, rose to the rank of corporal. And then I went to college at Northeastern Illinois University. Went there for 5 years, studied. 2013, I was unemployed for about 10 months because somehow things just weren't going my way. Worked at Costco. And then eventually I ran into my friend Daniel. We were both volunteers for Wolfpack. And we decided to create, or with a phone call from him in 2017, hey, kid, I got this idea for this program on YouTube. Okay.
And here we go.
And here we are, 7 years strong, 9 times being censored, 9 times being, all the crazy
that ain't going to end. That's not going to end anytime soon.
World heavyweight champion. And now we are on YouTube, Rumble, Rockman, Odyssey, and Kick. So there you go. So that's where we're up, and that's what's going on. So that's, I guess that's my story in a short term, but I think fair enough. Introduce yourself. It's unless we want to get started with our list.
I have one other question before we get started. Okay. And it's relevant to, we're talking about sci-fi. Mm-hmm. When did you get into sci-fi?
Okay. Well, I could thank my brother for this one because he used to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I was introduced to Picard, Captain Picard, and so
that's the first one you got into.
Yes, Star Trek: Next Generation, and then of course it came to Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, but it was DS9 that captured me, and I'll explain it because there's a person on there. There's a person on there who just like exemplified. Oh, this is my captain, and that's all I want to say.
Cisco?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's my captain. So there you go.
Well, you know what? I like Cisco. Garrick is fantastic. I love Garrick's character.
Oh, Garrick is a phenomenal character. All of them.
And Ducat, as bad guys go, he's a great bad guy.
Best villain. Are you kidding me? Did you ever see the behind the scenes where like they were doing I think the actor who played Ducat was talking about how him and Avery Brooks were like fist fighting, and Avery Brooks actually connected. And there's this.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Oh yeah, and he falls down, and they kind of fit. And Avery Brooks is like, "Oh no, help! Like he really connects.
Oh. And Avery was in shape back then too.
no. But look, he says it was an accident, but he said like Avery Brooks like really like it wasn't on purpose. It was an accident, but it's a fist that connected, and Avery was like, "Oh no, help!"
That I gotta find afterwards. Okay,
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link after the show.
definitely.
Because I don't think we could play it because we'll probably get. I'll
No,
probably get a strike.
they'll hammer us in a heartbeat. Now, there's one thing I know about Kit that he didn't mention right now, and this will be a surprise for a few people out there, my audience, but even your own audience. He left out his obsession with 40K. And if you don't know what that is, that's Warhammer 40K.
I found 40K much later, actually.
Well, we all did. But, well, for me, much later was 92. For you, I'm sure somewhat after that. But
in Saddam's basement, I read my first 40K book. There was a Warhammer 40K book in the library, and it was in Saddam Hussein's basement. So 2004. Thanks, Saddam.
Saddam was a fan of Warhammer.
I don't know. No, it probably wasn't. It was probably brought over by a Marine.
Probably.
Who just put it in the book collection.
People don't realize Marines, when we have downtime, a lot of us spent time playing different kinds of war games and strategy games. They always say, well, Marines dumb as rocks, 3rd Battalion and all that, and tankers. But no, we do a lot of strategy. We think of it was a lot more than people really give us credit for. Okay, so you got some cred. Not just from life, but we're talking about for sci-fi as well. So that's real good. So then this top 10 challenge should be very interesting. Okay, chat. Yes, we've been watching you guys talk, by the way. We haven't forgotten you in chat.
There we go.
We're gonna get into it now. So here's the real meat and potatoes. The challenge, as you can see on the screen, is to pick the sci-fi leader. We opened that up to, and I know it's a big realm out there, so we limited only to movies, TV, comic books. So leaders, if you got a leader in movies, TV, comic books, fantastic. Sadly, that does mean the God Emperor of Warhammer will not be included because he's not been in a movie yet. He hasn't, or an official mainstream. He's been in YouTube movies, but hasn't been in a movie yet. Hasn't been on TV yet. Cavill, Henry Cavill, get on that. And no offense, Toadies. That's my personal opinion. But other than that, once that comes out, then we can include them. So if you're saying, well, there's certain books that we leave out or something like, we know. Maybe in a future top 10 challenge. We'll see. So given that, let me ask you, what was your criteria for your top 10 and what is number 10?
Okay, if we are going for top 10, okay, so again, you said movies, TV show, video games, right? Or
no video games.
No video games. Right. Sorry. If we're talking for top 10, I'm looking for people who need to either have to put together the remarkable task of fighting through redemption, or either that trying to at least inspire others to follow them, even if it's to the gates of hell. So it's even if it leads to their inevitable destruction, or facing off against an opponent that is in many ways far more superior than them. So this was not an easy thing to do, and I really wanted to find people that I could relate to, especially if it was sort of like a last stand, or or either that try and make their presence heard and seen to maybe make a greater sacrifice. So it's all about sacrifice here.
Okay.
All right. So should I start off, or are you going to start off?
With your 10.
My 10. All right. So at the bottom, I am picking, and I'm only remembering her from only 2 of the movies and nothing else. Her name is Sarah Connor.
Aha.
Sarah Connor. Now, the thing is, and the reason why she's not any higher, and I'm saying, like, again, because the Terminator franchise has been utterly destroyed by, I guess, Hollywood, and it's attempting to recreate somebody. But if you look at Sarah Connor from Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, you see a woman that's put in an impossible situation and a very nightmarish situation where she has been given look into the future. And for many, I like to think that could cause a lot of people to break, because it's not her that's leading the resistance, it's her son. So not only that, she finds out she's going to become a mother, but the mother to the hero of the human resistance, John Connor. And that probably puts a lot of weight on her, because number one, you are raising somebody that is clearly an enemy, and an enemy that has the ability to travel in time and is doing everything it can to try and come after her. And now, at least I'm using Terminator 1, Terminator 2 logic here. The Skynet being a supermassive computer, because it nuked the planet, it probably didn't know like where Sarah Connor is. I mean, in the other movies, they're like saying, "Oh, it's pinpointing; it's able to do this." Well, then it
They said that in T1. In T1, he says, the records were destroyed, so they knew generally where she was, but not exactly.
Not exactly where she was. So it's so you're dealing with something that's created by humans, but it's astronomically more smarter than us. And she is also trying to learn how to fight. So in the first one, you have just an average person, and I could relate to Sarah Connor, like, doing your job, trying to make by in late 70s California, early 80s California. And then in Terminator 2, it's clearly she's suffering from PTSD, not only from losing her partner, a man she just met, by the way, but also the fact that she's in an insane asylum, and she's trying to tell people like, hey, heads up. She was the original Alex Jones. Like, listen, these robots are going to take over. And then she sees like the representation of the Terminator with her son. That's got to put her in a messed up spot. But she stood up. But also at the end of the day, too, she learns a lesson too in Terminator 2, and that is she was going to kill like an innocent side. Look, he was an innocent man
at that moment. Yeah, the future's the future. That moment, he's innocent.
But he didn't know. I mean, he was just a scientist creating, programming and everything else, and he didn't know his situation. But her son told her to stop, and in many ways, she's learned to forgive not only the people that caused the future, but say, hey, the future's not written. And that's why I love that empty road, because it's unsure. Did we avoid the apocalypse? Did it happen? Did it not happen? And that's how I view it. I don't look at the I mean, Terminator Salvation was interesting, because then we see John Connor.
Well,
I liked it. I liked it because it was different. That, oh, let's travel back in time.
I liked it more then than I like it now.
Yeah,
there's elements of it that are really good, and then there's a couple parts they fall apart in some of the storyline because they take the emphasis off of Connor, and he isn't leading. You got the submarine full of guys with Michael Ironside and the rest of them. I'm like, no, it's John Connor is always from day one. He's the leader, not these other guys. I'm like, why are we wasting time with them? They're not the lead.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I get your point. Now, you took this into a very interesting direction, and I love that and you got the exact goal of this. This is why, the movie, this character, this is why I love them. That's the whole point. I took a very different direction with this. And by the way, chat, after I give my number 10, you get to vote in the chat. Remember, you get to say on each one who wins and then overall. So I took it from a very different point of view. So for my top 10 list, the leader, I'm looking at a singular individual. So it's not leading by group, but a singular individual. We're looking at the power of the amount of power that individual wields. I'm talking about in terms of leadership, in terms of how powerful that individual is in and of themselves. I'm looking at the respect and fear that individual has amongst the masses. I'm looking at the number of people that they command or follow. And I'm looking at the size of their dominion, how much space or land mass or whatever you want to call it, their empire, whatever it's called, that they control. So those were the factors that in all of sci-fi, TV, movies, comic books, that's what I'm working off of to say, okay, these are my leaders. Now, given that scenario, my number 10 is a comic book.
Ah.
And It's a comic book that isn't Marvel. It isn't DC. It isn't mainstream. Not really. It's more a cult classic. And it's even had a movie, which was
Okay.
a cult classic.
All right. I'm listening. I'm listening. What is it?
It's in the Judge Dredd 2000 AD comic book, but it's not.
Oh,
But it's not Judge Dredd.
who?
Chief Judge Hershey.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
if you're not a fan, you may not realize it. Think of the movie, and which is the superior movie with Kurt. What's his name?
The guy,
Kurt,
the guy who was in Lord of the
Shark
Rings, part of the Rohan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm forgetting his name right this second, but in the movie itself was called Dredd, Dredd.
Great film, by the way.
That lead, great film. And he had Hershey with him. So she's a woman who's a judge on her own. She starts off as a trainee under Dredd, fresh-faced, innocent kind of person, just trying to do the right thing.
Yep.
And she moves up through the ranks. Now, the thing about Judge Dredd, the comic book, is it's in real time. So if 5 years have gone by, it's been 5 years. They don't, like Judge Dredd now is in his 70s.
Mhm.
So they literally, it's real time learning. So she has literally earned and lived her way, moved up the ranks. She was not just a chief justice. There's only one for Mega City 1. You can only have one at a time. She became chief judge twice. She was chief judge, voted out of office, and came back into office. Now her character is, yes, Carl Urban. That's it. Thank you. And she died, but she was a great leader, and she was one of the few people in all of Mega City 1 who could really push around Judge Dredd. In fact, dressed Judge Dredd down. There aren't a whole lot of people in that universe that could do that to him.
Right.
Was respected by Judge Dredd to the day she died. And she was in control of a city of 130 million people.
All right, I like that. Damn, that was somebody who I did not have on my list. But yeah, great pick there. That's a great because Judge Dredd did train her. She had the best teacher. But okay, I agree. I agree with that.
No, I like your choice. I like your choice too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. We both picked women. Mind you, folks, we have no idea what's on each other's list.
No.
That's one of the rules. I don't get to find out anything beforehand. So we have no idea. And yet we both picked women for the number 10 spot.
Okay, well, actually, I again, when you look at these characters, because again, if you look at the first movie for Dredd, what I find fascinating about that film altogether is that it does perfectly capture just how grim the future is in the Dredd universe, in the Judge Dredd universe, and what it means to be a judge. But also, what I found fascinating, because maybe I'm used to, I guess, because there's a little bit more in the comic books, and since you seem to be more of the expert into the Dredd universe, I'll defer to you. But that scene where the 4 corrupt Dredd officers come in, or the justices come in,
yeah,
I wasn't expecting them to be corrupt, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is a grim, dark future. Judge Dredd is somebody who worships the law, believes in the law, but not everybody's Judge Dredd. There are other people who have their own needs and wants, and Dredd is
regular people. Regular people are corrupt. There's corruption in the judges. There's people who are there for power or drugs. Mama is not an unusual thing you would find. So, yeah, it's very real world.
Yes.
Extreme, but real world in terms of the motivations of any individual. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Great
so
choice.
Chat, vote on the top, which 10, who had the better number 10. Don't worry. We're going to keep going, but keep voting.
Type 1 for Kit, type 2 for Old Man Vaz. Listen, Chad, you better vote for me or else.
Hey, I'm the guest. Go ahead. So what's your 9?
My number 9 is actually, again, another person who was facing off against far superior opponents and very nightmarish. And here's the thing. I'm not a fan of the third movie because I feel like it takes away the reward. But I look at her adventure continue on in the comic books, and her name is Lieutenant Ellen Ripley of the Alien Saga. Now,
I thought about her for a minute. Okay.
and I view her as a leader because here's the thing. Her story is far more superior in the comic books. And if you ever want to check out a YouTube channel called Alien Theory, it breaks down what happened to Bishop, Ripley, Newt, and Corporal Hicks after the second movie Aliens. Alien 3 and afterwards, I refuse to acknowledge them. But Ellen Ripley, again, is introduced to us as a regular. She's working on a floating oil rig. Okay, they're out there doing cargo and everything else.
Right.
And it's she is when we first get introduced to her, she's part of the crew. Like everyone remembers her from the second movie, but in the first
she's
movie,
the number 2. She's the XO.
Yeah, she's the XO. But everyone wasn't really expecting. I think from many movie reviews and critiques, like people weren't expecting like the last survivor to be a woman in the first Alien movie.
No, not back then. No.
Yeah, not back then. So that was pretty groundbreaking. But also what the alien was, because it had a gestation period. And they find this unknown alien ship. Then all these unknown eggs. One of the crew members gets infested, and slowly but surely it starts killing off every single member of the Nostromo. I think that's the name of the ship.
Yeah.
And so she's in this huge task, not only to get out of this ship, which was once her home, now it's become her prison. And then she has to face off against something that isn't human, not human at all, period. And she survives, but she was jettisoned out in space for 80 years. And when they find her ship again, her daughter, because in some deleted scenes, like if you see the second Aliens film, like she finds out that her daughter is in her 80s or 90s, everything that she once knew is gone. And then to her horror, she finds out that the planet that they landed on was not only terraformed, but colonized. And that, oh no, the station that held like 200 to 300 people has gone offline. And so we were seeing somebody confront her trauma, but also try and warn war experienced colonial Marines, like, hey, this is what you're facing off against. And we both served in the Marine Corps. And when somebody comes along that's not part of your unit or trying to be an advisor, like every Marine's gonna be looking like, who is this jagoff? What are they about? And I'm being nice about this.
Until they prove themselves in some kind of way, it's like, whatever. Just go away.
until they do. And so she did prove herself, because their CO at the time, he only did like simulated jumps. He never did any true deployments. So she's trying to warn not only I think its name is Baxter or Bruce or something, like the guy who was there with the company, like, hey, look, you don't want to take these things home. You got to exterminate them. You got, and here's what you're going to be facing off against. Don't touch the people. Be careful. Be all of the stuff. And she takes the initiative to take the armored personnel carrier, drive through the building, get the Marines out. But also, I think the moment she secured her leadership was take off from orbit and nuke from above. That's the only way you know for sure. And the guy was like, yeah, that's it. And the guy's like, well, no, this is a $1 billion facility. And the guy was like, hey, man, I don't think you realize we just got our asses kicked. She's got the right idea. Like, go off from orbit and nuke from above. Only way to be sure.
That's it.
Brilliant. That's how she got the leadership. But then, even then, then time is working against them, because the plant, or the nuclear power plant that's attached to the station, is about to explode. So they got to get out of there quickly. And unfortunately, the rest of the other Marine survivors do die, but she takes the initiative not only to save Corporal Hicks, who's knocked out of commission, but tell Bish, and she also has to deal with her trauma, because, we talk about trauma. Sarah Connor dealing with the fact that the Terminator saving her son and helping her, but also she has to deal with the trauma of the android Bishop, because in the first movie, the android was programmed by the company to get the unknown alien life form, bring it to Earth. And I love that scene, especially because let me just rewind back. In the first beginning of the movie for Aliens, she's like, God damn it, listen, if you don't listen to me, if one of those things get here, that's it. That's it for all this. All this paperwork is gone. And Alien Theory actually did a great video because it actually came out in 2020 when the pandemic was at its height. That opening statement of hers is brought in because the company does successfully bring alien eggs to Earth of all places in the comic book. So that her fear does come into reality, but it's only in the comic book universe though. And she goes inside the alien nest to face off against the alien queen, but to also get Newt back. And then as and she's taking all these weapons. She's learning how to use the weapons, survive. She takes Newt, her adopted daughter, and she's holding her. So it's like, just close your eyes, like, because she really thought it was the end. They save themselves to get on the ship, and then she still has to face off against the alien queen. And alone with Newt, Bishop, and even Corporal Hicks, they finally have a peaceful sleep, and the warriors drift off. But their story ends in Alien 3. I don't acknowledge Alien 3. I think it's a very sad ending, what happened to her. But in the comic books, folks, if you want to see heroism and Ripley at her finest in prime alpha form, please check out the comic books from Dark Horse Comics. Ellen Ripley for the win. Somebody who faced her own trauma and saved the day. And continues on.
That's a great choice. And by the way, Dark Horse Comics did a great series taking on what happened in the Alien series after Alien 2, Aliens, and the entire Earth versus Alien war. Yes, there was an actual war with an invasion in Earth, corporations trying to use the aliens because the queen jelly makes you into a superhuman. There's a whole lot of aspects to this that the movies never went to that they really should have. They should have just followed the comic books. And Ripley and also Newt growing older, running a resistance. There's a whole lot there. So I love, she's a great character. I loved her as a character. But my number 9 will literally stomp her. Done.
How?
My number 9 is going to stop both your 2 choices so far. Done. See, my number 9 is singular, powerful, feared, and the size of their domain is whatever the hell they want it to be at any given moment. It's a character from movies, and we're going to go back to 1964 for this wonderful movie character. And you're wondering, well, who could do all of that in 1964 and is iconic to this day? Because when I say this name, you're going to go, oh, hell, of course. It's Godzilla. And specifically, Godzilla in 1964 in the movie Ghidorah, Three-Headed Monster.
Oh, okay.
And that's right. Godzilla takes on Rodan. He's fighting Mothra's, of course, on his side, but he's fighting Rodan and he's fighting Ghidorah and kills and beats the hell out of Ghidorah. And yeah, I'm into the whole monsterverse.
Okay.
I mean,
I got a surprise for you then for later on the list.
Okay. Because Godzilla, and he's a leader. He is the leader. But he earns that. I mean, King Ghidorah came down to try and take it. The aliens brought him in from another planet, put him there.
That was Monster Zero, I think. That was Monster Zero where they control him.
Ghidorah was in Ghidorah, Monster Zero is the later incarnation of him.
Yeah.
And 64 is the first incarnation of him.
Okay.
And then they made him into Monster Zero. That came afterwards in Toa.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's the same as almost exactly the same. Just redid the birth of him. But it was a great movie. Obviously, iconic character. As soon as I mentioned it, I mean, you mentioned the title. You're like, yeah. I mean, everyone gets it.
Okay. Yeah. He also was like the leader in Destroy All Monsters too.
Yeah. I don't like the modern version of him though. The modern Hollywood version of him. Modern Japanese version, I'm pretty good with. Modern Hollywood likes to have humans in these things in a way that is useless. So I don't like those stories. But and I think King Kong was given a disservice. I like Godzilla versus Kong when we don't know who won. I like that better. That's just me.
Okay.
But But the only reason why he didn't rank S higher, because some people say, well, I mean, it's Godzilla, damn it.
Mhm.
The reason why it's not higher is because he's only one. He doesn't his following's like, Mothra.
Mhm.
Some of the other monsters, it's not a bigger domain or people following him. So there's a little bit of that. He doesn't have a whole lot of power in that sense. So that's why he ranked a little bit lower, but that's my number 9. Again, folks, keep on voting in there. We want to see the numbers.
Yes. Number 1 for Kit. Number 2 for Old Man Vest. Oh, you better vote for me or else.
Mine are kicking ass. I'm just saying. But go ahead. Go with your number 8.
My number 8 is he had a TV show. It was only for I think 2 seasons. It was on Adult Swim. And I want to make sure I say his name right because the creator of him has done some fantastic work. And I just want to make sure I say the name and I'm going to butcher his name. Gendry Tarkovsky's Primal, starring Spear. I don't know if you're familiar with the creator of Samurai Jack, but he also made the series Spear, the Primal. And the main character in it is a individual named Spear. He is a Neanderthal, and this is set in an alternate universe where prehistoric life and all of it in its various forms, some of them more crazier than others, are living alongside humans. So that means giant prehistoric reptiles, dinosaurs, bugs, humanoid, giant apes, all this kind of stuff. And
land lost to time kind of thing.
Yeah, yes, it is. And it's especially season 2 really takes off and puts Spear outside his comfort zone because Spear is when we're introduced to him, he's hunting for his family, only for them to be killed by a pack of large tyrannosaur-like creatures. And he eventually befriends another tyrannosaur that also lost her 2 hatchlings. So it's about survival. It's about redemption, dealing with trauma and loss, but also dealing with the nightmare of survival of the fittest. And Primal doesn't hold anything back. I mean, if you get wounded or cut, like you have to worry about, okay, how do I heal myself? And then there's also the concern of how do I heal my pet, not pet dinosaur, but he viewed the dinosaur as his equal, and they're just on this journey of recovery, of dealing with trauma. Again, a lot of my characters are dealing with trauma. It's about pain, but also redemption too. And in the first season, it's about, everyday survival, hunting, and facing off against monsters and demons and witches. So like everything's kind of out there, and things only really start intensifying. Like first there's this introduction to this human, like a regular human, not half ape, not ape-like creature, but a regular human. And she's the first one to talk because Spear doesn't talk in the entire series. But she's speaking like a form of early Arabic, I think.
Okay.
And she escaped a boat from these proto or quasi Viking like people. We don't know what they are until after season 2, but she meets with Spear, and Spear lets his guard down, and it's more of like he learns to smile again. He cares about her, and it's actually at the end of the season finale for season 1 where he actually speaks and he says her name. Her name is Mira, and she's telling Spear about these Viking people that are enslaving her tribe, and already because she's speaking in a form of Arabic or early Arabic, I think, and she's writing in the sand, she's drawing it, and Spear is just looking at it, but he understands, like, hey, I'm running away from these people, and they're trying to hurt me, and from what people have translated, she's saying, like, and if you're not careful, they'll come and get you too. And she draws like their chieftain and then their god that they worship. And Spear's like, oh, okay, this is my enemy too. And he swears to protect her. She actually introduces Spear to like cook food because I guess Neanderthals ate like raw food and everything. Right. And so she introduces him to spices and stuff. And he's like, I'm not a fan of this. And then we get to season 2 because the Vikings actually capture her.
Oh, so he goes to rescue.
Yeah, he actually makes a raft. And he even has to try to convince a tyrannosaur, like, "Hey, get on this raft too." Yeah, no, like, because they're trying to hunt. They're out there in the ocean, and they even get attacked by like a megalodon shark, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a scary scene too. But they're surviving. They get separated, and Spear actually meets with a tribe of like these. I guess I wouldn't say that they're early. Again, the world is like ours, but very different. So I would say like they're somewhere on the British Isles or somewhere in like in a
So
northern
like
Europe kind of
Conan
continent.
Hyborians kind of thing.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's the first time Spear was around a lot of other people, because we look into, because as Spear's recovering from his near drowning, we look back into his past and his father, who is far more brutal looking than Spear. Like his father took a bite by a saber-toothed tiger, and his arm got ripped off. And he's so slowly but surely, like, Spear lost everyone in his tribe, not through any fault of his own. It's just the world he lives in is very brutal. And
Right.
the chieftain of the tribe sees this and is like, hey, you need to calm down. And even the Tyrannosaur finds another Tyrannosaur, and this Tyrannosaur hunts people. Now, Spear's Tyrannosaur called Fang, she doesn't do that. But eventually they do reconcile, like they do meet up again, but it's found out later that she did get pregnant by this other Tyrannosaur, and Spear had to kill that other Tyrannosaur.
Ooh.
And then they also have to save Mira, which they do. They find the Viking tribe. Now, as I remembered in the first season, in the first episode, there's a red mist when Spear loses his family and Fang loses her family. But when Spear and Fang go into the Viking village to free the people, like they do free the people, but most of the chieftain and his son are not there, but the rest of the tribe is there, and including the chieftain's wife. But the red mist comes into the tribe, and instead of Spear being looked at as a liberator, because he does free the slaves, but
he's the bad guy because
he's killing. Spear and Fang destroy that village. I mean, and they are going up against, Viking male warriors, the Viking female warriors, and they decimate the entire community. They even some of the kids do die too. Like this show doesn't hold anything back.
okay.
And then here's the thing: the chieftain and his son come back, and they see all their people gone. So it's sort of like a reverse, like how Fang and Spear. Yeah, like how Fang and Spear dealt with trauma. Now the chieftain and his eldest son have to deal with that too. And then, like, they do meet up with Spear and Fang, and it is found out that the Spear and Fang, Fang does lay 3 eggs. One of the eggs is lost, but the eggs do hatch. But the chieftain and his son do come after Spear, but the oldest son dies, and then the chieftain, like, he almost gives up, almost commits self-deletion. But the god that the Vikings worship, this god of revenge, like, okay, you belong to me. I own you, and I will give you revenge. And he becomes the avatar of that god, and he's hunting him down. But then Spear and Fang get enslaved, including Mira, by this Cleopatra Egyptian pharaoh. And it's about freedom, redemption, and eventually Spear does pass. I don't want to spoil too much, but
no, don't spoil. Let people.
Yeah.
Part of what we want for this show is the people to see our passion, to go out and find it for themselves.
Yeah.
So, okay, I like that. It sounds like a cross between the Marvel comic book Devil Boy and Moon Beast, and also a little bit of Conan the Barbarian, like the original comic version of Conan thrown together.
Yeah,
so exactly. It sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, it's about trauma and survival. So again, all my people in science fiction are people that have to deal with trauma and loss. So that's my list. That's my list.
No problem. And by the way, folks, yes, lo-fi is still sci-fi, so it counts. Because everyone always thinks spaceships and, pew pew, but no, sci-fi can also be alternate futures or alternate past. So that counts too. Well, my number 8 goes in a very different direction, and we kind of were talking a little bit about it earlier. And of course, my number 8 is Captain Sisko.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, from the DS9. Now, my reasoning for it is a little different than why other people would look at him. And that's because he's a captain, so he's powerful, but he's not, when you think leader, most of the time people are thinking, oh, he's leading the entire nation. He's the president or whatever. No, no, no. Leaders don't have to be the leader of a nation or anything like that. So he's a captain. He's got about, depending on any time you look at DS9, it's somewhere between 300 and 7,000 people are under his command, which is a pretty good size. That's a large number of people. But he's also a religious icon in and of himself to an entire planet, which is also an authority and a respect that he gains on top of that. So he's a religious figure, a lot of devout religious followers to him, as well as being a captain, as well as being a very successful, war-hardened, experienced captain, where his people follow him implicitly because they have that trust and faith. They've seen him have the fight, and he's doing the ultimate good versus evil fight. So he captures a lot of those elements, and it's science, and it's in space, so it's a little bit different. So it's a little different than what we're seeing with Judge Hershey, which is a little more realistic. This is a little more fantastical, but yet there's a lot of solid factors in there. But there's also a religious element, which really elevates him, which is why he made it onto my list. So that's why he's my number 8.
I like your choice, but I'm going to say no comment because I have my own perspective of Sisko. But right now, I will say the floor is yours. That is a good choice, but I will say no comment until much later. Much later, if anyone understands, wink, wink, nod, nod. But I like your choice. I like your choice for Captain Sisko.
Sometimes you'd be surprised. Sometimes people have the same. Sometimes I've had lists where me and someone else will pick some of the same things, but not necessarily. So far, no one has ever.
Sisko's on my list. Sisko, but
no one's ever got it at the same range.
But I have a very. I agree with your assessments, but there's some things you left out, so we will save that for much later. But I agree, I like it, but there's some things that have been left out. So there you go. All right, fine. I guess number 7 then. I assume, yes. All right, my number 7. He has a TV show, or it was originally a comic book, then became a TV show. But he is somebody who came from royalty. And he is somebody who was thought dead, an exiled prince. And it's set in an alternate universe where America does lose the Revolutionary War. And even Napoleon Bonaparte does conquer the island of Great Britain. Yes, the Revolutionary War, it was called Benjamin Franklin's failed revolution, So there you go. Or no, or Washington's rebellion. But it's also set in a universe where Napoleon Bonaparte actually invades Britain and succeeds. But it's an anime. It was a TV show too, very successful. His name is Lelouch v. Britannia.
Oh, okay. Now I got you.
Yes.
Britannia.
Lelouch v. Britannia.
Lelouch of the Revolution.
Yes, Lelouch. So why did I choose Lelouch? Lelouch is an interesting character who goes on the path for revenge, but is also trying to build a better future. And I think it is destined to fail, Lelouch's dream of a future, because I don't think he understood what his older brother was trying to do, or at least trying to inform him of like, hey, look, I see you're trying to create this better future, but Lelouch did create this better world through the blood of a lot of people, including innocent people. But, he's dealing with the trauma of what happened to his sister, how Japan got occupied by Britannia, and also his apparent mother's demise, air quote, but also
big air quotes on that one.
But also dealing with the fact that his father is by far the most brutal emperor of the Britannian Empire. And the thing is, like father, like son, the son, they are very alike. Whether he would like to admit it or not, they are alike. And he goes on the path for revenge, even going after his own family members, and either that destroying them mentally or exterminating them. And see, the thing is, like the first brother he kills, he was a douchebag and a terrible leader, absolutely. But if you look further into the series, like look at even before then, his brother loved Lelouch. Like he was like, I don't think he'd be too much of a jerk if Lelouch was still alive and around
Actually,
him.
they all
Yeah.
of his family loves him genuinely.
Yeah.
Like the moment they see him, they're like, "Oh my God, you're alive!"
You're
You know,
alive.
they love him.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't think they'd be as monstrous as they were if he was still around. But nonetheless, he's trying to, and he sacrifices himself, and I think he did die at the end to try and build this better world. But the thing is, human beings are very complicated creatures, and my favorite movies, obviously, they're the samurai movies of antiquity. Like, you know, if you look at the early samurai movies, they always talk about humanity, like, you know, the world is cursed.
Mhm.
And the thing is, Lelouch, you might have built in peace, but the thing is, how long does that peace last till the drums of war start happening again? Because human beings were not like that. I've yet to see a point in time where there was absolute peace, unless we only got to include Pax Romana. But even then, there's all these caveats. Lelouch did succeed, but the question is that, like always at the end of every comic book, the world is safe, but for how long? How long?
Yeah,
is it
but
gonna work?
you can't. You can only do what you can reach. You can only do what you want to do, and the answer is 10,000 years. But I'll get to why that's the answer. The answer is 10,000 years. But
Okay, very well,
but I'll
very well then.
explain
Yes.
that. I'll explain that a little bit. We'll get there very shortly.
Very good, very good.
But my number 7 goes in a very different direction. Although, and this character has been done in animated as well, but it's not the animation that I'm looking at. It's not the first and most of the second movie, but the third movie that really got them onto my list. It's very much sci-fi, a very popular character as well, and there may be a fourth movie coming out. There's a video game about it too, 2 different animated movies on it.
Oh wow.
So this guy's been around for a while, and a lot of people are very happy, even though he's a cold-blooded killer. Because we said leaders, we didn't say good guys or bad guys. We said leaders.
Leaders.
So this guy is, depending on your point of view, he's evil. He's either very evil, an anti-hero, or a hero.
Okay.
Now, you know who necromongers are, right?
Yes.
Okay, for people who don't know, that comes from Pitch Black. Well, the second movie, which is called Riddick. And my choice is Riddick himself, because
Riddick. Okay, I like that.
Because at the end, you keep what you kill.
Right. Okay.
And in the third movie, he is in charge of the necromongers. So he has millions of spacefaring followers who religiously and fanatically will follow him and also try to kill him to take what he has. But they follow him, and their mission is to go planet to planet, solar system to solar system, to take over everything and introduce it to this other realm, the half-dead realm. That is their mission and purpose, and he is leading them in this purpose to varying degrees. He's like a godlike being in their mind. He's also got superhuman attributes of his own, a history and and there's a whole back catalog of things that are in the extended versions you don't really get to see. You see it more in some of the comic books and some of the other extended media, where he's a lot more than what we think he is. He's not just a regular person. And there's reasons why he can do certain things that we don't want to get to see. Yes, Cobra Commander, Butcher Bay. Yes, that's one of the examples. Yeah, he's seen it too. So Riddick is one of my choices because, I mean, we got millions of people that he has in his armada, taking over entire planets, going galaxy to solar system to solar system throughout the entire galaxy. He's had the control for more than a movie, and potentially even more than that if they continue the series like they promise. He's got lots of regrets. He's got lots of fear and respect. He's powerful. He's a singular leader. His domain is basically the galaxy. It covers a little bit of everything I touch on.
I like that. I like that. Riddick, I view him as somebody who is also was running from his destiny in many ways because it was
Mhm,
denied to him. And he's a Furian survivor,
mhm.
one of the last of his people. At least there are some others out there, but
Too
he was
few
a
to really
yeah,
matter.
yeah. But again, it is. I've when we get introduced to him in Pitch Black, he starts off as this criminal, and you think he's a bad guy. But the thing is, when the person who we thought was a good guy was really a merc, and even then, he wasn't the leader, but he was forced to become one because somebody gave up their freedom for his, and that was the captain
And he
who,
made the choice, and he
yes, he
made
made
the choice.
choice. Yes, they made the choice to not only go back for the people, but also say goodbye to the monsters on that planet when he lit the engines up and said,
I
"Not
love
before we
that.
say goodbye," and
But,
then flew off into space. Yes, good
but
choice.
here's
Good
the thing I
choice.
love about that is, one of the things that people don't think about in Riddick is
Mhm.
he's never been good, evil, or even anti-hero.
I think he's just a person put in an extraordinary situation that was not of his choice, and he's trying to do what he can to adapt. But he's also dealing with his own fair share of trauma too. Like,
Yeah, he's trying to
he,
put it all together.
yeah,
He's trying to put it all together and figure out, but what and throughout all the movies, he's just trying to figure out, who am I? Yet everyone from that small group of survivors in the first movie
Mhm.
to the necromongers are all devoted to him, and
Yeah.
he's their leader. So he's got to lead, and yet he's still got to figure out, but who am I? He got to lead
Mhm.
himself first. So he's
Yep.
a very interesting choice, which
Mhm.
makes him which is why he's on my list, because there's so many layers to his leadership that isn't classically what we see.
All right. All right. I like that. I like that because then we get to then my number six. Then
Mhm.
who is I'll introduce him like this. He's also animated. Um, I understand what he was trying to do, and I get what he like Lelouch was trying to create a peaceful world, a better world, and he becomes God. He becomes a God, but when you become God, the thing is, you yourself become corrupted, and power is a very intoxicating drug. And there was a man. He was a man, a young man with many hopes and ambitions, a man with a father who adored him, a mother who loved him, a sister that worshiped him, friends and family. He had popularity. There was much he could do. But the day he got the power to become a god is the day when he fell. And he started off with good intentions, maybe, but there is the world of laws and rules. But this man is also dealing with the trauma of becoming corrupted by the power. Light Yagami. Light
Are you
Yagami
talking about
became a
guts?
no, Light Yagami from Death Note, from
Oh,
coast
Death
to
Note.
coast.
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
Yes,
yes.
Death
Okay.
Note from coast to coast. Death Ghost from coast to coast. For those of you who don't remember Adult Swim, a Space Ghost from coast to coast. I say Death
Yes.
Note from coast to coast. Light Yagami. So Light Yagami, he became a religious icon. People worshipped him as Kami, as somebody who became God, and there was one infamous scene where he was killing prisoners
Mhm.
who are already locked up in jail, by the way. Okay. And the
Yeah,
thing is,
but just
the thing is, even then, some of the people he was, going after were bad people. But we all know the judicial system. Sometimes there's mistakes because we don't know if Light could have killed some innocent men who were behind bars because for no reason. Now, again, I'm not
no.
saying all of them, but Light was making some very serious decisions. And as time progressed on, as soon he was confronted by L,
Mhm.
when L made that challenge to him, all bets were off. And even good people, good men and women, were also
The power
dying because,
consumed him.
yeah, the power consumed. He killed a good cop who was just trying
Yeah.
to figure out what was going on. And when his wife figured it out, that scene when he writes her name, because he's trying to figure out what her
Mhm.
name is. He writes her name and he says like good, and she's like, oh, I was talking to you the whole time. And then when he even goes after L, and L, while he is weird and everything, but he's a very intellectual person. That scene where Elle is washing or drying off Light's feet, it's sort of like, okay, you got me here, Light, you got me. And then Light then starts going after innocent men and women, going after cops, and it costs his sister her sanity. His father dies, and he was lying to so many people. And I think it's the trauma of having power, but also of the decisions that he made. It was consuming him because he thought he was near invincible. And at the end, when the Shinigami is finally like, all right, Light, it's time to collect my toll on you. It's finally time to get you. We see Light looking back at his past, the innocent man he was before power fell before him.
And it's interesting because, he was always told, he was always promised, yeah, you'll get the power, but you will pay. You are going to die. This is going to cost you.
Yes, it's going to cost you. And he manipulated. Oh, even then, there was Elle's. Okay, so I forget whose team Light killed. I think it could have been maybe Mel M's team or Light. Because so wait. There's a scene where Light actually killed the second team coming after him, and the only person still left was Nier and his assistant Giovanni and somebody else. It was from Washington D.C. from the FBI. Such a great series. I mean,
it is. They did a live action of that.
Which one? Because there's a Japanese live action, and then there was Netflix. Then there was a Netflix disaster. I don't
go to Netflix for any live action anime. It's the Japanese, again, not what you. It's not the anime, but it's a hell of a lot closer. I like their versions a lot more, but that gives people a different. If they want to see more live action version of it. Hey, Abby.
By the way, I know some people are coming in and out, and also you like the greens. Yes, House Green is my favorite, but I'll explain more about the greens later on for people who might or might not be on my list. So there you go. What else we got here? Loving everyone else here at this event. So thank you. Please be sure to hit the like button. But all right, who is your number 6 then?
Yeah. By the way, folks, I'm enjoying seeing the comments there. I know I'm not paying as much attention. It's a little different when I'm not doing my show, when it's not on my screen, so I react to it a little different. But I'm loving that you guys are with us, and I'm loving the conversations you guys are having about some of the stuff we're talking about.
Good.
My number 6 goes in a different direction because, again, it's spacefaring. It's about space. We have another leader of peoples. This time we're talking billions of beings under their control. Extreme sci-fi power and warfare on a galactic scale. They own a sector, an entire sector of the galaxy is theirs already. And there's one person in charge of this entire sector fighting the powers of another sector, another part of the galaxy. None of them are human. Has nothing to do with humanity. Although humanity does affect the outcome, humanity is not a factor.
Okay.
Up until the very end, not a factor. It's a TV show. Had 4 seasons. Everyone freaked out at the end of season 4 because they were promised a season 5 and it never got to happen.
Oh, no.
But we did get a miniseries.
Okay.
And the series is, of course, Farscape.
I knew it because we did play a role in it, but not so much into it. Farscape, great.
Yeah. Everyone's after the human, and the human, Crichton, does make the ultimate deciding factor at the end of it all, but really not in big. The war is between the Sebaceans and the Scarans. And I'm not picking the Sebaceans. I'm talking about Scaran Emperor Stalik.
Stalik. Good.
Because
Good choice.
the Sabations have a council. There is one leader of the Scarans, and that is Emperor Stalik. And he has a purpose. He has a plan. He has hopes and dreams, which we only find out in the miniseries, but he has that. He's smart enough to know to have spies, multiple spies, and double agents. He has spies on his own spies. So he's got plans within plans. He's got massive control. He's incredibly powerful in and of himself, incredibly confident in and of himself. And yet, and he's in no question. I mean, billions that he controls. Half the universe is terrified of him. This is a wonderful embodiment of a leader, and on basically every aspect you can think of.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say, like, in regards to emperors, I mean, spies was in spies, plan was in plans, far more superior than like another emperor who I'm not gonna say, well, again, Palpatine, for example, but I bet it's more of a terror. I'll explain my thoughts on Palpatine for a later portion. Maybe he's on the list, maybe he's not on the list. He could be in my top 3 for why he's not, or maybe he's on the list. I'll let you guys say. The only way you're going to stay familiar is if you guys are listening
and voting
and voting and hitting the like button. So whose list is winning so far? Type 1 for Kit, type 2 for Old Man Vast. I'm going to post a comment. Hey, I'm going to post the link in the YouTube community section. Y'all better be voting. All you people better be voting, or else. So there you go. All right, I like that. I like Farscape. Hold on, Bad Cookies. Bad Cookies was an elected official. Wait a minute. And Palpatine did nothing wrong. Hashtag Alderaan had it coming. Anyway.
That's funny.
Have you met anyone from Alderaan? A lot of smug people there. All right. So, by the way, for those people who don't know the rules, again, they have to be in a TV show or movie. And what else?
Or comic book.
Or comic book. But nothing was booked. So even if it's Warhammer, fan made, it doesn't count. So I would put in Grimeldus because some mad lad did Hell's Reach via animated. Great series. But no, folks. There is no Warhammer. There is no Warhammer. So there you go. But all right. So we did number 6. Now for my number 5, I guess. Yeah. All right. My number 5 is an interesting leader because it has to deal with the Godzilla universe. And yes, and he is somebody who I wasn't expecting to be a leader. He's not one of the main characters, but when Godzilla does attack, he, along with many other people, with him being in charge, steps up. And I'm talking about Kenji Noda. Kenji Noda from Godzilla -1.
Oh, okay.
The man with the glasses and the big hair. So why am I picking him? Well, first of all, he is a war veteran. He designed weapons for the Imperial Navy for Japan. He is somebody who's also, I guess, on the road for redemption too, like all the characters in Godzilla -1. Godzilla -1 is a very powerful emotional film that Hollywood should learn from in regards to putting humans in giant monster movies, because you have to make us care about the characters. Yes, we're there to see the giant monsters, but also get us interested in the story. And -1 succeeds, I think, at least in my perspective, of having me care about all the people there. And while it was all in subtitles, I was listening and reading and seeing the emotion and pain in all their stories. But when Godzilla makes his attack in Ginza, they have all the former veterans there. It's sort of like, for me, I like that scene because it's like, okay, all you old veterans, you got one more fight. And it's a volunteer fight. And Kenji is the scientific mind telling, here's how we're going to beat Godzilla. We're going to use these Freon bubbles to bring him down. And if that doesn't work, we got to bring him back up. And then we start shooting. Like, he was coming up with all these plans, designing on how to stop Godzilla. And he was there giving the admiral, like the majors and the admirals there, who were all these volunteers. Here's how we got to do this. Here's the roles of everything else. And it's sort of like a sense of pride. And then when he says, like, when Godzilla's making his attack, like, a lot of us lost comrades due to starvation, horrible plans, You know, a lot of us are dealing with trauma, but this isn't about us. It's not about the country or nation. This is about the future. And he was seeing the bigger picture. It's about a future without this monster destroying our cities, but also a future that we leave behind. Our time is over, but this is our one chance to maybe do things right. I'm not asking you guys to sacrifice yourselves. I'm asking you to fight and live. That's what he was asking them to do. And that is a leader. He's not asking you to die. He's asking you, hey, if we don't
This is
win
how
this,
you live. This
this
is
is how
you
we live. This is how you live. And Godzilla, there's a lot of messages to take. And also, wait, hold on. I like this part right here. The message of Godzilla -1 is awesome. We cannot count on the government to help us. We must do this for ourselves, which is also fantastic. Yeah, like because there's even the mention of like, hey, you know, when the government sends those 2 wooden boats out there and they see the destroyed U.S. that U.S. destroyer that was tore apart by Godzilla, you have the one kid's like, wait a minute, this is a U.S. boat. What? Why are we here doing this? Because Noda says, well, the U.S. is afraid that the Soviets are going to respond to this, and so like they say, what's this wooden boat going to do? Like we got to do this, like, and they came with the plan of using those mines when Godzilla was chasing out. Great film altogether, but Kenji Noda, a leader, a scientific leader, but trying to fight for a better future. So that's in my list. Again, all my people are dealing with trauma. All my people are dealing
I
with
noticed
trauma.
that you have a theme there. Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, I kind of have a different theme.
Okay.
But that's why I love about this. We get to see different aspects of all these different movies. A lot of people don't realize how deep some sci-fi can get and the reasons why. A lot of people love Godzilla -1. It was a great film, and we need more films like that. Kick its reputation down the gutter by choosing Cerebus. Really, Cerebus?
No, sir. Maybe he's on the list. Maybe he's not. I don't know.
That's an interesting. You don't hear that often. Okay, yes, I know who you're talking about, so we won't say anything yet. But interesting that it's on the chat. So for my number 5, I went. I'm on a kick here for emperors, and I said, okay, I have to have another emperor.
All right, yeah,
and I got to have another space guy.
Okay,
and my emperor is not the most recent version because I don't like the most recent version is perhaps the most powerful, but also the most ridiculous. No. I want the deep thinker, strategic plans within plans, galactic control, and yet powerful, feared, absolutely feared, respected, and feared. So it's like everything that I would want in there, and is the boss of the most epic villain in history, in movie history. And of course, there can only be one person that fits that bill. Obviously, from the prequels and original OT Star Wars, we're talking about Emperor Palpatine.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
5.
talking about
He's
Palpatine.
number 5 on my list. So imagine what I got left coming. But yeah, Emperor Palpatine. Come on. He's singular. He's powerful. He has power. He is respected by Vader and some of the other Sith. He's feared by pretty much everyone else. He's got the galaxy of people that he rules, and his domain is the galaxy. And if you go into the EU and the extended universe, because Disney doesn't count, then he's getting prepared for the Yuuzhan Vong. So he's this is visionary. He's also protecting everyone, even though they hate him. He is protecting the galaxy.
I like that you brought in the extended universe, because that was in many ways what Palpatine was trying. Again, Palpatine is a dark sider, so you have to remember, like, at least in the original mindset, like, these are entities, people who are very selfish, but he also takes power. And the thing is, what I always found funny, especially if you look at the book Plagueis, like the original book about Plagueis, like when he's, I always put like this humorous situation in my mind, like this story, like, because him and Plagueis, we're working together, and they're working to corrupt, to get rid of the Jedi, and also deal with the political maze of the Senate. But there had been moments where maybe Plagueis and Palpatine were smoking a cigar, looking at their map of who they got to take out, and they're probably like, "Hey, we're supposed to be dark side evil wizards, but holy cow, these senators are freaking evil." Because the Senate was corrupt. Like there might have been moments like, "Hey, hey, Plagueis, are we sure we're the bad guys? Because some of these people are really effed up."
Well, you got to think of it. Palpatine, in his mind, he isn't the bad guy.
Yeah, I know
He
that.
he is bringing order. It's kind of like what Vader says. We're going to bring order to the galaxy. We're going to make things better for the people. What the one thing I did like in, I think it was the Mandalorian season 1, I think episode 3, we had the one guy who's for the Empire. He's like, everywhere the Empire touches, he brings peace, prosperity, brings order and benefit to the people.
Right.
And for a lot of people, Palpatine did that. And even though you could say he's very selfish, but in preparing for the Yuuzhan Vong, he's saving. Yes, it's selfish. He wants power, but he's willing to bring this is very Machiavellian. He's going to protect the entire galaxy because he wants the power. It's selfish, but it's beneficial. I love that there's this extra layer to him.
There's more to that too, because you don't mind me adding just a little bit on here, because when you look at Palpatine, when the Empire was just getting started, and again, if I was Palpatine, I probably would have handled the Clone Wars differently, not have it be like 4 years long, but 8 years, just to be more manipulative, just because.
The more the Jedi could possibly figure it out.
Yeah, but I have my own, but we'd be here all day talking about what I would have done. But I think it would have been far more efficient to also add into the propaganda about why we got to get rid of the Jedi. But the problem with the Republic is there was no standing army. There was no standing navy. Like, they literally only had like planetary defense forces, if some planets did have that or not. Plus the Republic, while the Empire had slavery, the Republic allowed slavery too.
Yeah,
it allowed it. And there's also the fact of when the Empire was building all of its ships, what I find it interesting that Disney does hint to in Disney Star Wars is like all these people who were in the Imperial Navy and Army and Stormtroopers now don't have a job. Those factories that, like, all those jobs are gone.
You just created a homeless, unemployed, very angry population of people who have been trained to do one thing: fight. That's not good.
I think there's hey, hold on, and a lot of people are saying like, what was the Empire good? No, it was, and it wasn't. Palpatine really could have done so much more if he didn't let the dark side of force, because the dark side is a drug. It is a drug, but is it more powerful than the light side? Yes, but it comes at a cost, huge cost.
No, it's just as powerful. It's
really,
but it's more on the individual. It's more self-destructive.
Okay,
but it's just as powerful. It's just
I would say it's far more powerful than the light side, but it's the cost, because again, the user uses it, but it will destroy them. But yes, I would say the dark side is stronger at a cost for the user, but I wouldn't say it's equal. I would say it's on par for it. But
and I wouldn't say the Empire is necessarily. It has a lot to do with where's your frame of reference.
Yes, exactly. Frame of reference, because like the Republic, I would make the argument, and I don't mean to cut you off on this, because I've always found the Republic to be very hypocritical, because the Republic allowed a lot of stuff to happen under its watch before Palpatine or even Plagueis came around. True. Even with the Jedi at their height of power, like the Republic allowed a lot of things to happen for it to become the corrupt institution that Plagueis and Palpatine found, which is why I always played a comedic scenario. I don't know if you're familiar with Robot Chicken, where like Palpatine and Plagueis are like, hey, maybe we gotta go to the press about some of these senators. I think we had one person right in there, like somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow Palpatine became a whistleblower and shined a light on the corruption in the Senate. Like, hey, look at all these people here. These people are bad. Like, and it explains a lot about the mindset of the Republic. And even when the new Republic,
things they're willing to overlook and just turn a blind eye to, literally kicking it down the road with no end in sight. They're just like, we're just not going to talk about it. It's just another thing. And the Jedi were responsible for a lot of that and saying, okay, and we're just not going to deal with it.
And it's something else interesting because we looked at Disney Star Wars Republic. I mean, that I don't know what those Disney writers were trying to show or prove, but the Republic, when it came around, and we mentioned the unemployment and all these experienced people in the Navy, in the Imperial Navy, in the Imperial Army, all these people, these workers on all these millions of worlds are now unemployed. They're looking at, okay, Republic, what's your solution? Whereas the New Republic in the expanded universe, like the Empire doesn't just collapse. Like there's still like the Imperial Remnant. The Imperial Remnant still, which is great. And the thing is, if you follow along with the series, the Imperial Remnant does survive.
Oh yeah.
And Han Solo's kids marry into this person named Fel, and they create the Fel dynasty, where the Empire still survives.
Yeah,
it's still around. And again, Disney. I don't know. It's less said about Disney.
There was
this
so much they could have done with it. There was so much there.
Yeah,
and they just threw it all away. And they literally it's all been written for them. All they had to do is just transcribe it into film, and they could be making movies for the next 20 years, and everyone would be filling those theaters. They're stupid, but but you're going to find it interesting because imagine Palpatine only rates 5 on my list. So,
okay. So just for a recap, starting from my list, starting from 10 is Sarah Connor, 9 is Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, 8 is Spear, 7 is Lelouch v. Britannia, 6 is Light Yagami, and my number 5 is Kenji Noda. So I guess now we go to number 4.
Yes.
Number 4. All right. My character is dealing with his own fair share of trauma, but becomes an iconic religious figure to all of humanity, but also is viewed as a threat and the anathema to the enemy. But no, I'm not talking about the Emperor. I'm talking about someone who leads humanity to freedom at a cost. And I'm hesitant to really say any praise about the fourth movie, but I'm talking about Neo from the Matrix.
Okay.
Who, yes, and he is the hero and the leader in my book, because he is somebody who wasn't really put into this position. He knew something was wrong. He knew he was different, but it is something that came to him. And instead of his other predecessors, he makes peace with the machines, the AI. And he is somebody who also deals with the machine's trauma. Because if you look at the animated, series for the Animatrix. Yeah, the Animatrix. He's the one who, because you look at that, like the machines were dealing with the trauma of humans destroying them and not even acknowledging their self-existence.
Right.
And when the big machine says speak and we need nothing from you, Neo is like, well, wait a minute. One of your own creations, Agent Smith, is destroying your universe. You need us. We need you. But we need to end this cycle. Let us break this cycle. And I can do that. And so, and again, why I look at it as self-sacrifice, but also for the idea of how do I free my people and begin fixing the repairs, the trauma of this war between man and machine that's not only in the physical world, but in a whole other world as well that has every right to exist, because there's many humans that will not be willing to embrace what reality is. And so when he says like, hey, this choice of freedom belongs to them all. If they want it, you don't stop it. Because again, it is made abundantly clear that the Matrix can create and burst humans. So the Matrix is never going to lose its battery power. But if those people want to be free, you let them become free. Yeah, you can always make more humans animate.
They said they can live. They have levels of survival that they're willing to accept. So I mean, the premise of that negotiation is there. I will say that I did have as one of my alternates, and I'm giving this away a little early, but one of my alternates did also come from the Matrix movie, but it wasn't Neo.
Oh,
it's Morpheus, because Morpheus is followed. Now, I know that Neo becomes godlike, and people are following him after he becomes the one. That's in the 2 and 3.
2 and 3, yes.
But I think Morpheus is part of well, he's kind of a leader. Look at him when he speaks to all the people,
Yeah,
and
very true.
he's got all the people behind him, and he has the confidence to be able to say, "You don't have to believe what I believe for what I believe to work." It's
Mhm.
there's that extra level, and he's the one who finds. He's the leader that finds the hero.
Okay, I would say now. Okay, I do agree with that, but I also find it interesting that Morpheus, very similar to my favorite Primarch, Reboot Gilliman, gave his leadership to Neo because he was willing to follow him. Like when Gilliman gave
Mhm.
his leadership of the 500 worlds to Sanguinius, who didn't
Yeah,
want it, by the way,
yeah,
because he felt like, hey, we got to go to Terra. But again, not including Warhammer 40K people because they don't meet the criteria to be on this list right now. But
yes,
um, I would say that as somebody who is respected, even more that scene in the Matrix 2 when they're on the truck and those trucks about to crash, and
yes.
Morpheus says to him, Neo, wherever and I remember when Neo came in to fly him out of
Mhm.
there and the
And
trucks,
pulls him out.
the whole movie theater was cheering out loud, like, Neo, wherever you're at, I could use your help right now. And I was like,
Whoosh.
ah! uh and Pat Cook. Oh, wait. Cypher, I agree. Cypher was misunderstood. He is somebody who saw the truth
He's
and
not
wasn't.
misunderstood.
I think he's misunderstood just a
No,
little,
we understand
just
what
a
Cypher
little bit.
spelled with a C, not an S. But Cypher, I understood. He was out, he's selfish. He wants what's best for him. He
Mhm.
just wanted to have a better life and not have to deal with the hardship of reality. He was
Yeah,
looking for a drug. He's
yeah.
an addict.
Yeah, I would say so, but I think he has a little bit of a sympathy in my book because maybe it was just too much for him, and maybe it was a bad call for Morpheus to really pick him because some people do falter and fail. But Cypher, I saw what he was trying to do. Would I agree? No, I wouldn't want to be plugged back into machine because the thing is when he said I want to be somebody important, you're gonna plug me back. Like the
Mhm.
machines weren't gonna do that for you. They were gonna
Well,
kill you. Maybe they
no,
would,
no,
maybe they wouldn't.
no. The machines would, because the deal's a deal. Smith wouldn't. Smith will kill you.
Yeah, no, yeah. Smith wasn't going to do that. I think because let me ask you a question before we do move on though.
Yeah.
Do you think before even Neo set him free, do you think Smith was a program that was trying to be free? Because I think there was somewhere in his program like I want to do something different. I want to
I
make
think
like
he would have eventually evolved there. I don't think he
yeah.
was there, but he was on that path. I
He
mean,
was on that path. Thank you,
yeah,
because I always found that when he took off his glasses, took off his earpiece, I was like,
individualized
oh
himself. He
yeah,
stopped being part of the system and
yeah.
gave his own opinion, and that he had independently categorized human beings as a virus
Mhm.
rather than what the system had categorized them as.
Mhm.
So he's already making independent decisions and actions. He's off on his own. So he was on that path eventually. The program was corrupting as
Mhm.
he was there, but the catalyst, and when you listen to the architect, he says this is all part of the equation. He's part of
Yeah.
that equation that is meant that if you don't correct it, will unbalance the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's
The
why
arch
you need Neo,
yeah,
because
and the arch
Smith is
sorry, so go
going
ahead.
to corrupt. He's
Yeah,
going to unbalance it all.
yeah, the architect as a character, I didn't see him as evil. He was a response to what the machines went through as humans, and that was just his job. And I remember when him talking to the Oracle, like, "How long do you think this will last? However long it needs to." And I
Right.
thought that was great. I don't acknowledge the fourth movie. I saw.
No, the fourth movie doesn't exist. Screw that.
I think there's much to say about the Wachowskis, right? There's a lot to be said about them, but I think they were trying to protect their IP because as much as it could, this is my only defense of it. I think they're thinking, okay, do we want Hollywood to butcherize what we made? And again, number four isn't all that great. I don't like it. Or do you want somebody, or should we run it our
No,
way?
I think they did the same thing that Joker 2 did is screw
Yeah.
you guys. No one will remember this. This will go away because it wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. I
Yes.
made the movie I wanted to make.
Yes. I think that was their way of saying, like, okay, kind of like, I wouldn't say a self-sabotage, but maybe a self-defense of we're not going to make a good Matrix
I'm
movie.
protecting the good
Yeah.
movie that I
Yeah.
wanted to make,
Yeah.
and that was what I wanted, and
Yeah.
everyone will remember that. No one's
Okay.
going to remember this, and we won't go back on this again.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did there. But
Good.
let
Let's
me
go
tell you
to
my
your
number
four.
four.
Yes, number 4.
Very different direction. Very different direction because we're going
I
back
like
to
this.
comic
Yeah.
books. We're going back to comic books,
Ooh.
which not everyone may be aware of. Although it's been, they kind of touched on it in a Marvel MCU movie, but they did it all wrong. They did it all wrong. What I'm looking at is a empire that has been in Marvel comics for more than 4, actually going back 5 decades.
Okay.
They are classic. They are well known. They are
Okay.
incredibly advanced, incredibly powerful. They are feared. They are beloved. They are as benevolent as they are malevolent. It's very much a matter of perspective of who's looking at them and also what time frame you're looking at in the history of Marvel. We know a lot about them, but yet we don't know that much about them. Now, some people will say, well, that must be the Shi'ar Empire with the X-Men. This is who the Shi'ar Empire fights against. Some people will say, oh, well, then it's been an MCU movie. Well, then therefore it has to be the Skrulls in that horrible abomination called Ms. Marvel. No, it's not
No.
the Skrulls, because the Skrulls are, while yes, powerful, feared part of Marvel from almost the beginning. No, these are the guys that the Skrulls fight against. That only leaves one group, the Kree.
Oh,
The
yeah, the Kree. Okay.
the original actual Kree, blue-skinned, blue-blooded, where the actual Captain Marvel, the real Marvel, where does he come from? He's a Kree. They're
From the Kree Empire.
scientific, they're
Yeah.
brilliant, but that's the culture. That's the background. Who runs the Kree? The Supreme
Oh,
Intelligence.
the Supreme Intelligence. Yes. Okay. I
The
like that.
combined mind and the culmination of all the minds and all the data of the entire Kree Empire and every other empire they've contacted and or taken over, conquered. You put that all together into one computer, one super massive sentient computer program, planning out the future actions, which means sometimes it's mean, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's going to attack, sometimes it's going to support. And that, I think, is really, really cool. Not talked about enough, especially in modern day. And again, Ms. Marvel completely just lobotomized the Kree. Didn't do them any justice. So much better, so much more important. I love the Supreme Intelligence.
Okay, I find it interesting. Just saying hello to everyone in the chat here so far. So welcome everybody. Just like I said, this is a very different kind of live stream, but this is something that I think we all can enjoy. So listen, folks, if there's anyone you want to say whose list you like so far, type 1 for Kit Cabello, type 2 for Old Man Vest, type 1 for me or else. Type 1 for me or else. But nonetheless, yeah, and the Creed were also featured in some of the other Marvel movies too. But the less said, I got nothing nice to say about Marvel.
The MCU is they after Endgame stop. They
should have.
Actually,
They
could even start up that Infinity War and stop there, and it would have been fine too.
Endgame would have been the perfect bow, but I would have said, if anything, if the problem with Hollywood is you got a lot of executives who think short-term profit. They never think about the long-term stuff, because there was a way that the MCU could have been relevant. They like when you're cooking. My guilty pleasure. I like to watch Hell's Kitchen or anything with Chef Marco in it. Mm-hmm. Chef Ramsay, Chef Marco. I mean, I love those two because they actually came from the school of hard knocks of what was like for when you cook yourself a nice steak, you let it rest. Marvel, they should have let it rest for 5 years and hire a whole new crop of actors to play, T'Challa or either that Captain America, Tony Stark. It could have been like the James Bond. Like, who's your favorite James Bond? Who's your favorite Iron Man? Who's your favorite Captain America?
Just change them up and just move on with the stories and just
exactly.
And never even comment. Just okay, and that's Captain America now.
Yeah, hey, Captain America, you look a little different. I've just been working out. That's
boom,
all.
I got a haircut.
I got a haircut.
Moving on.
Boom.
They did it with Roddy, uh, um, what
Yeah.
is it? Warmonger,
From
Warmonger, and Iron Man. They
uh,
switched from Don. They
War
switched to
Machine.
Don Cheadle from
Yeah, War
what's
Machine.
his name?
He was War Machine. He wasn't
War
Warmonger. He
Machine.
was War
Yes.
Machine. Yeah, War Machine. Yeah, I would have been fine. I would have been fine with the explanation of, oh yeah, I just worked out. Yeah, I shaved my beard off. I cut my hair. Anything that would have been just fine. But nope, and that's why Disney's in the red. But no one wants to talk about that. All right, so cool. All right, now we're getting to the top 3.
Yes.
All right. All right. If you watched Adult Swim, you remember those commercials or those speed bumps occasionally? There was one that I really liked the most. There's one man who can help. There's only one man who can help. He is the man who's entering the room today. And I got to give it up for something. There was not one, but 2 series and a movie, and a comic book, a manga as well. Very popular anime, but also somebody who became a leader in many ways, not only in the manga, not only in the 2 animated shows, but he is somebody who went through his trauma of maybe stepping into territory that he should not have done. Sort of like when Vincent Price says about the original Fly, about how when the kid says, why did my father die? And Vincent Price says to him, well, he traveled into a realm that he was not ready for. But like many great explorers, he got reckless. And I'm talking about Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Edward Elric of Full Metal Alchemist. So for those who don't know, Edward and his son and his brother, Alphonse Elric, are the 2 sons of Van Hohenheim, and Van Hohenheim abandoned them. Now in the first series that came out, it's a little bit more complicated. I like people have been ragging on the first one that came out in 2005, which I don't like, because I thought that was a really great series, animated well, and the music, the soundtrack, the characters, great. And even the author.
Sense.
Yeah,
it made sense for the story they had built up.
Yeah, and even the author of Full Metal Alchemist was like, wow, you guys took this in a different way that I did, because I liked how the homunculi were kind of like portrayed like vampires or werewolves, like how werewolves don't like silver, vampires don't like holy water or the cross. The homunculi could not be exposed to the original human corpse.
Which I love that element to them, that ultimate weakness.
That was a great weakness there. But then again, Brotherhood I thought was pretty good too, because it stayed true to the original series. But the fact that the author liked the alternative take, what also says a lot about, how the author viewed her series, because the author is a woman. But Edward Elric, him and his brother on the journey of not only dealing with a government that uses alchemy as a weapon, but also for the fact that they lost their mom. They tried to bring her back through it, and it backfired horribly on them. And where Alphonse lost his body and his soul was in a suit of armor. And then, like, especially in the 2005 series, where of horrors, like, they run into their resurrected mother, who's a homunculus, and the fact that
so terrible.
That was tragic, that was traumatic, but also Edward made it his mission. Like, okay, I remember what he says to one of the homunculi, like, if humans are responsible for creating you, then it has to be a human that has to take you all out. And that was hard right there, because there's the trauma of defeating something that has your mother's face, and then also dealing with the trauma of facing off against your teacher's own creation, because their teacher created a homunculus of her son. And then there's also the trauma of envy, which I thought was great. Like, envy was Hohenheim's original son. And then also the fact that Dante was pulling the strings in the background, who is also a parasitic creature that's using the Philosopher's Stone to manipulate all these wars so that she could be immortal. And she's like saying, oh yeah, you humans can't run it yourselves. Only I can. And it's like,
doing it. And she's been doing it for a while. It's not the first time.
No, it's not the first time. That was.
I like the way that there's so much thought put into it. And again, both versions have a lot of value independent of each other. And they both make sense for the story that they're telling. And it's almost, the core of it is absolutely the same. It's the same core. But it's so interesting the different ways you can look at the homunculi, because they're almost the same characters in both stories and some of the flaws, the weaknesses, the trials and tribulations. I love that. And I love looking at Al and
Edward.
Ned is I like their growth. I like their
Yeah.
growth. I
The,
like
the growth as children and also becoming men in their own way, but
Mhm.
also Edward being a leader of saying, I have to correct this mistake. I've made these mistakes and I'm going to
Mhm.
correct them. And if you look at Brotherhood, like he's going, like he leads other people who are also leaders in their own right, but facing off against the problems and the challenges impacting the nation. What I liked was that, he just wasn't this superhero, because when he suffers his first defeat against Scar, where Scar destroys his arm
Mhm.
and almost destroys his brother, and then also dealing with the loss of Wendy. I
Mhm.
think that's her name, the girl who
Yeah.
becomes fused with the dog, which is
Yes.
very like
Oh, that was
like
I.
that. Yeah,
You know what? That was the original. That was the original Full Metal Alchemist,
yeah, the
and that was
2005 one.
and oh my god, when you see that,
I
everyone got hit by that.
I think the 2005 series, when it came down to Tucker and his daughter,
Yeah,
did it better than what the author did. And I think even the author now is like, wow, you guys took this in a different route than I
that
did.
that that was so dark. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
so dark.
Wendy. Yeah, that was, yeah. And the thing is, and again, why I view Edward as a leader is that no matter what situation he was faced off against, his goal was to rectify the mistake he made, but also end the pain that's causing all the suffering. And hey, we got a puppy dog in the live chat.
Hey,
How you doing?
hey.
There we go.
That's my puppy Khan. He's a little antsy, but he'll be all right.
Yes.
Um,
So that's my choice. I would have picked, maybe should I have chosen King Fury Bradley or Dante, and yes, but I felt like Edward's story as a leader. And again, my whole thing is about trauma and overcoming your trauma. I think Ed, especially at the end of not only the first series, but in the movie and
mhm.
in the Brotherhood series, we see him overcome and become a better man. And what I find great about the movie is that there's a little end credit where it says, in this world, Edward Elric is 100 years old, and he's living in Japan, and there are photos of him,
Yeah.
with
Oh,
Dr. King and other
yeah.
Nobel Peace Prize people as well. I was like, oh, Ed, you lived a full life in this world, and he became a grandpa, and I think he found the Wenri of our universe so he could be happy, because he said, like, hey, this is goodbye. And that was a tough one.
That was right. But he was willing to do it.
Yeah.
That was really great. By the way, bad cookies. Yes, I have had that happen. I did in fact do that. If you show everyone the bad cookies, it's the puppy. Yeah,
God.
yeah. By the way, Khan is actually 13 years old. So yes, he's still my puppy forever, but he's
Okay.
13.
There we go. All right. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So then who is your number 3 then?
Well, my number 3 is actually, I'm going back to Marvel. Now, again, this is something that you've seen in the comic books and in the MCU, even though I hate the MCU, but, or now the modern version of it. But let's go to the classic MCU. Let's go to classic Marvel. Who's someone who is feared in every format, is feared just by mentioning their name, because everyone knows what that means. Someone who is powerful enough to fight gods, somebody who is smart enough to have technology capable of dealing with anyone and everyone on equal footing, someone who is very old, in many civilizations considered to be ancient, somebody who is thoughtful, somebody who is dedicated. And depending on the format you're looking at, that dedication can be love, that dedication can be compassion of a sort. This is somebody who, yes, the average person, completely evil, and yet,
I think I know you're going to bring up. I think I got an idea.
and yet there's nothing else to be said but Thanos.
No other Marvel villain will ever replace him in regards to being a threat to the universe, save for if they actually did it properly, maybe Apocalypse.
No.
If done correctly, because there's that, I don't know if you're familiar with the comic book with Apocalypse, where he actually conquers the planet and is ruling over it. There's like a Future Imperfect or something like that.
Mhm.
But Thanos is that villain and that character, and I thought they did a phenomenal job. And I always like the fact that it's like, what do you say? Like, despite all your failures, where does it lead up to? Back to me. Like you come back to me. And Thanos succeeded in his job. And I think, if you look
Yeah.
at what he was trying to do, I get it in some
From
extent.
his mind. From his mind.
I
It
get
makes perfect sense,
Sense.
and he deserved his farm looking on the land saying, and I have done a good job. I have
Yeah.
done good.
Yeah, and at the end of Infinity War, he's like, he sits on his throne and he's at peace because he's done. He did what he, and the thing is, if you look at how devastating that snap of the fingers was, he removed half a life. I mean, that's devastating not only civilizations but planetary ecosystems, to the likes of which.
Well, but he's also, and it's alluded to in the movies, he also took out animals. So
Yeah,
half the animals, he took out
ecosystem, like
half of everything.
half
But
of
I love
everything.
that it was random, which meant it could have been him.
Yeah,
It was random. He was in that list too. He was
Mhm.
not saying, I have to survive. It could have been, it was random. It was
Mhm.
universal. It was painless, or
Mhm.
as painless as, from what we can tell, no one was in pain from this happening. They were startled. They were surprised. They disappeared. But no one said, oh my God, I'm in pain. He made it painless, immediate, universal, random. He was really great. And yes, it is correct that in the comic books, which is more of where I like the Thanos from, has to do with him being in love with Lady Death. So his motivation there is his love of death itself. He's almost an avatar of death, which adds another level to it, because now there are those followers of death. He's one of their almost archangels, almost to death, and so that is another aspect of him. I mean, there's so much to that guy. He's not dumb. He's not simple. He's not just a bad guy to be bad. There is a lot to him, and that's why I love his character. And I will say, MCU, more so in Infinity War than in Endgame, he was brilliantly built up and paid off, and I love that. And I love him in the comic books as well. So that's why he gets to make it to my number 3, because of that powerful everything. He hits all my
I
marks.
agree. I agree. And you know what? Something else. I will say this. By the way, fellow Marine in the chat, Gray Walker joint third party, says Thanos was right. Semper Fi, fellow Marine. But also, so Bad Gooses, but he did all the evil stuff because he wanted to hook up with death itself. Hey, death, Lady Death is that drug. But I like that Thanos was the villain, because so many people were shocked about Infinity, because I read the comic, the original Infinity War, and so many people were like, what, he did it? Like, yeah, he did it. Like, that's what he did. But one thing I feel upset that Marvel never did right, I wanted the Thanos helicopter. I wanted that damn Thanos helicopter. You know what I'm referencing?
What, the chair?
No, there was a comic book where Thanos is actually flying a helicopter.
Oh, that's back in the 70s.
Yeah, it was back in the 70s.
Okay.
In the 70s, where they did everything. They were on all sorts of substances, people back in the 70s. Okay, never ask about the King Kong set and all the fun stuff that happened there. Okay, that was your number 3.
Yeah. So
Okay,
let's take a quick moment. I know my dog's getting ready to go, but let's take a quick moment to go through some of our alternatives. Give me 30 seconds, a minute, though. I need to just jump off for 1 second, and then I'll be right back with you guys. Maybe go over, I know there was a super chat, so maybe you want to comment on that, and I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So folks, hey, welcome everybody. So this is gonna be a special kind of live stream about your favorite science fiction leaders. Now, originally this was gonna happen on Mike's channel, but there were some technical issues. But hey, I believe a promise is a promise, so that's why we're doing this right now. So this is a non-politics kind of live stream for everyone to chill. Good to see everyone here. Dwayne Vogel, we got Grapentine, we got Earl of Laurel. Good to see you. We've got Herb Green. Don't my number 3 was okay. So if you want to know my list, my starting from 10 to 3, Sarah Connor, Ripley, Lieutenant Ellen Ripley from Aliens, Spear from Primal, Lelouch v. Britannia. So there we go. You got Lelouch. We got a Light Yagami. We got Kenji Noda. Kenji Noda is a character from Godzilla -1. We got Neo from the Matrix series. We got Edward Elric. And that's it. Edward Elric is from Full Metal Alchemist. So there you go. Those are my top 7 right now. We have yet to get to number 2 or numero uno. Bad Cookies. You know what? I'm gonna write your name down. Bad Cookies. Drowns in cookie dough. So yeah, folks, hit the like button. We did get a super chat here, and it's from Rumble in the Jungle, Bumble from Sid Hars Vicious, who tipped $1. Kit, that song from Adult Swim was "Hands Up" by Wild Child. Oh, okay, great. Also, Full Metal Alchemist rules. Well, thank you. There you go. And so there's a lot of people. By the way, I found this interesting. Isaac Asimov, who was the real deal, but he is heavily distorted today in order to revise what he was about. He was a humanitarian, and he was opposed to imperialism, but he was also somebody that really wanted to rewrite his series a lot, which is something that shocks a lot of people, because there were some things that he wanted to fix that he didn't like in his book. So the art, hey, say whatever you will about the author or the artist, it is his project and his IP, and that's something I do have to support. But I think he is the founders of science fiction, and somebody that a lot of people should look up to. He is somebody that has really stepped up in regards to creating a lot of stuff that in many ways can trace its origins back to him. And for those of you who don't know, he's also who wrote the original rules for robots, which
are the best rules that no one follows, and therefore everything goes wrong. Everyone should be following it, especially nowadays. We have AI.
Yes.
Put in the rules.
Yes.
Put in the 3 rules.
I swear to God, if I'm one day walking down the street with my cup of coffee and I see an Ed 209 there, I am going to be very angry, okay? Because that thing failed miserably. Who brings a loaded robot with 50 cal weaponry to a board of directors? Like, seriously, you had the thing loaded?
Hey,
Dick,
OCP.
I'm very disappointed. Like, somebody died, and what does the CEO said? Dick, I'm very disappointed.
I know, but you know what? OCP, the chairman of OCP, almost made my list. But who almost made your list?
Actually, it was the chairman of OCP. The chairman of OCP.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so he was my number. Okay, so if we're doing top 3 people who didn't make the list, so I'm just going to keep it down to 3. The chairman of OCP. Now, I liked him because, he in the first movie they did him good. They did him a good service. Second movie, I don't know what that was, but that was not the original character. I thought there could have been the second movie could have had a little more depth to it. They made it way too cartoonish. I mean, the second movie has its charm, but it's just that I felt that we didn't see any more of his leadership properly done, and I felt the way they were turning him into this cartoonish character, it's completely different than what I saw in the first movie, because the man wanted to create a safe Detroit. All right. Even though the film was taking place in Texas, filmed in Texas, that they ain't no, my stepfather's from Detroit. And it's just like, that's not Detroit. But yes, chairman of OCP. Number 2, Palpatine. Palpatine was my number 2. As much as I do respect him as the emperor of the Galactic Empire, I felt in many ways his abuse of the dark side of the Force clouded his judgment, especially after he took over. And also the fact that he cheaped out, he even brought up, even in the expanded universe, like the Imperial Navy and even the TIE fighters. It's like, dude, if we're including the Clone War stuff, you had high grade weaponry and shielding for your troops, and then you do all this cutting corners and everything else, and nobody could really challenge or question you. Which, if you study The Prince, fantastic book, or Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Like,
Yes.
yeah, an executive, a commander, a general has to be the end all be all. But surround yourself with people who could challenge you. But Palpatine had his admirals and generals fight and compete against each other, which he was trying to do it as a safeguard for himself, but a detriment, which allowed I'm including the expanded universe for the resistance, the rebellion to defeat them. But it could there was that possibility of somebody
rising up.
Rising up against Palpatine. So there's that. And finally, uno numero number one.
Don't go number one yet. No.
Okay.
Okay. So let me give you my alternates. I'm just going to mention their names real quick because they're stories into and of themselves. Real quick, you got John Connor, you got Jim Holden. Okay, John Connor, T1. Jim Holden from The Expanse. I do need to mention Jim Holden didn't lead anything other than 3 people on the ship. So that's why he's not on. John Connor from T1, didn't see him. He was there for like 15 seconds, so doesn't count. Frieza. Yes, Dragon Ball Z, fantastic.
Frieza.
Frieza isn't the boss. Frieza works for his dad, not enough of a leader. But otherwise, he'd have been on my list. Princess Leia, planet Alderaan got blown up. She's no longer a leader. And she's not in charge of the Alliance. She's just one of the leaders. Captain Kirk, only one ship. Really famous, really powerful, but he's only one ship, not big enough. Admiral Amidala, Admiral Amidala of Battlestar Galactica. Adama.
Wow. Okay.
Did not make my list. Why? He only had tens of thousands of people, and the Cylons kicked his ass. He's good, but he should have been better. Morpheus did not make my list because too few people were following him, other than the things we mentioned about him earlier. Right. And the last one who did not make my list, Henchman 21 from the Venture Brothers, because even though Gary did turn out to become a badass, even though he could have been his own supervillain and have his own arch nemesis,
the Viceroy.
But he chose to be a follower of the monarch, so he didn't make my list. So who did make my list as number 2? The God Emperor, Duke Leto II, who ruled all of the galaxy, the entire universe for 10,000 years, ensuring the success and wonderment of mankind through his oppressive rule, Iron Fist, taking the path that his own father feared. Paul Atreides feared to follow this path because it was ultimately the greatest, but the most of a sacrifice. Yes, Duke God Emperor Leto II. He is my number 2. Talk about powerful, huh?
All right, I like that. Now, I was going to mention my number 1 who didn't make it to the list, and he was actually my number 1 who didn't make it to the list was actually none other than Paul Atreides himself, because in the book, Frank Herbert, the reason why he made the second book was a response because people were viewing Paul as a hero and everyone loved. He's like, no. Paul is a flawed person who has become this. He's become a tyrant in his own right. He was not supposed to. It's about how power corrupts. And Paul, while he did become a leader, he realized, like, oh, what have I done? And I can't take this path. He chose to choose exile. And then when he meets his son, he's like, how dare, like when Leto. So we have something in common there. Great stuff. Now for my number 2 on my list for leaders, my number 2, he would have set the galaxy aflame. A man who became the greatest villain, I think, in Star Trek history. He never chose anything else. It was a job that he didn't want, but he took it anyways. You love him. You got to sing about him. Gul Dukat. Gul Dukat as a leader. Okay. Gul Dukat. Now, why is Gul Dukat my leader? One of my number 2 spot. Gul Dukat is somebody who rose up through the ranks in Cardassia. He is somebody who was also, in many ways, he was the way the writers were trying to make him out to be as somebody like from the Third Reich, but maybe a compassionate, air quote, leader like him. But he was a tyrant, and the people of Bajor view him as a tyrant. He is somebody who tried, in his defense, especially when he had that psychological meltdown, because this is somebody who's dealing with trauma. Again, all my people on my list deal with trauma. He is somebody who, in his twisted mind, good intentions, try and rehabilitate Bajor into being a prosperous, occupied territory. He tried and he failed. Even when he was lenient, he still got attacks. And again, you have to look at the other previous people who were running Bajor, because when Gul Dukat got there, he's like, I don't like these quotas that we're killing these people. It doesn't come as any surprise. He came in too late. Okay, that's what can be said about Gul Dukat. He came in too late to be the nice guy, and so and the people of Bajor were already dedicated. Like, all right, we got to free ourselves, and they didn't like the occupation that Cardassia was doing to the people there. And then you also look at the fact of when he lost his seat to the Federation, and the Federation began taking over. He sees Cisco in his office. He sees Cisco in his station, and Cisco getting the love and admiration and respect of the people of Bajor, something that he coveted and wanted. He wanted to be a hero.
Cisco
Wanted
was the usurper.
Yeah, Cisco was his usurper. Cisco was his villain. Cisco was his antithesis. He wanted that. So, and for many ways, that wounds his pride. But then also when he lost his daughter that he had through outside marriage.
Yes.
And then when he's holding, like, that's the breakdown. And then when he's no longer welcomed in Cardassia, when he was like when the leading he loses Deep Space Nine. He sells Cardassia to the Dominion. And after all of that, he even falls to darkness and becomes like this creature for the Pare. I believe that's what they call
Pawraith.
Pawraith, yeah. And so I view him as somebody, as a tragic hero. He wanted to be a hero, but he never had the makings of a varsity athlete to be the hero.
Okay. That's a good number 2. Right up there. So let's jump right into
number 1.
I apologize. By the way, folks, for those who are not familiar on the channel, we're doing it on Hard Lens Media because technical issues. So I do appreciate that we've been able to do this entire list, which I normally do on my channel here with Kit. I know we're finishing up. We've got just our number 1 right now, and then we're going to be done. We started a little late, so that's why my dogs, you're hearing them in the background. So I apologize that I'm rushing that part a little bit.
Yes,
but
so
I
number
think
1.
this has been a great experience. I thank you, Kit, for working with me. We worked through the issues. We're getting this out, and I think most people are enjoying this. Remember, your vote matters in the comments and in the chat. 1 is for Kit. 2 is for me, the guest, Old Man Boss. And of course, I should win because my list is better. But let's go with Kit. What is your number 1?
My number 1 is somebody I remember as a kid. I got into Star Trek: The Next Generation thanks to my older brother. Now, again, I'm more of a Warhammer 40K fan, okay? But I remember one day I saw a different type of Star Trek, and it was called Deep Space Nine. And I got introduced to Captain Sisko, and I was slowly getting it. Captain Sisko is my number 1. Now, let me explain why he's my number 1. I remember the episode when Q comes to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And, I since I was a veteran of Star Trek, it's like, oh, how's Sisko going to outsmart Picard? We always had to use his mind to outsmart Sisko. But no. Or Picard will always have to use his mind to outsmart Q. And there's that scene where they're in a boxing ring and Q is doing this and doing that. And they're like, how is Sisko going to use his mind? And I'm a young, impressionable boy seeing this. And wham! Knocks him out. Q is on the ground. And I'm like, what? And Q's
this
like,
ain't Picard.
like, no. Q's like, you hit me. Picard never hits me. And Sisko's like, I'm not Picard. As a young boy, I was like, I didn't know we could do this. That's my captain. Captain Benjamin Sisko. Why is he my number one? We see his trauma of losing his wife and becoming a single father. And he's not a captain. He's a commander. He rises through the ranks. He wants to quit. He wants to quit. He wants to retire. He has to be not forced, but guided into a pathway of redemption to lead the people of Bajor and Deep Space Nine. This is a man who also not only has a military mind, which is very foreign in Starfleet, but also somebody who sees the fact that, hey, Bajor is a war zone that's just recently been liberated. How do we bring these people into the Federation when it's very clear they've been under occupation of one empire? They view us as another occupier. How do I bring peace to a nation, a planet that's been at war? How do I become a father and still be a good man? How do I still lead the station and be a leader? We see him rise through the ranks, not only that, becoming a captain, and not to mention, Starfleet didn't give him a ship. They gave him runabouts. The Defiant was only a recent addition with the response to the Dominion War.
Oh, yeah.
This is somebody who also saw the issue with the Marquis, where he challenged the Federation. It's easy to be a saint in paradise, but out here, this isn't paradise. This is the frontier where people have to struggle every day to survive. It is not this utopia land. That Earth is not here right now, but we are here. And Sisko took on the mantle of being a leader. You mentioned before, he became a prophet, but he became more than that. He became somebody who had to protect the entire Alpha and Beta Quadrant, because you have to include the Romulan Empires in the Beta Quadrant,
right?
To protect the greater whole. And that also means doing his own fair share of trauma on others, because he didn't play by the rules of Picard or Sisko, or not Picard or Kirk. He was somebody who had to look at the bigger picture and long-term consequences. He became a wartime commander. He had to abandon Deep Space Nine. He had to sever the link from the wormhole and actually put mines. Of course, he ordered his team to do that around the wormhole. He is somebody who also committed war crimes, and I can say it's justified with bringing the Romulan Empire in, but that pale moon, he says, like, I lied, and if I had to do it again, I would. I can live with it. And I was like, this Picard or Kirk, and even Janeway would never do what Sisko did, and there would be like maybe that one special episode, like, you know, where Kirk or Picard run into a corrupted Starfleet officer or something like that. Sisko had to do it, but also Sisko ignored even of his mentor, who was going to do a coup in Starfleet because of the current ruling president of the Federation, because of the dangers of the shapeshifters. I understood what that admiral was doing. I understood what he was trying to do, but even Sisko was like, I have to uphold the values. Because Sisko kind of agreed with him, but he also was like, no, this isn't right. This isn't correct. Sisko became a wartime leader that earned the respect of the leading heads of the Romulan Empire, the Klingon Empire, of Starfleet. This man had more respect than any of the other admirals running the show. He was an adjutant to one of the admirals, Admiral Ross, but the fact that all of the Dominion and Cardassia and even the Breen looked at him as a threat. This is a leader who earned the respect, and I hate the season finale, because the thing is, he found love again. He was going to be a father to another young son that was going to be born, and his older son didn't follow him the pathway for Starfleet. Well, became a journalist, but he was proud of the decisions that his son made, and his son became a man in his own eyes. He even forgave Picard. He even again, dealing with the trauma, because when he meets Picard, like, oh, we met.
He's seeing Borg.
Yeah, at Wolf 359, we've met before, and he is the leader that I would follow. And the thing is, I wish he was given more of a peaceful ending, where yes, he's there on Bajor, he builds a home on Bajor, he has a relationship with his wife, he has a son. And see, the thing is, too, the other reason why I could relate to Sisko too as a leader, because unlike Kirk and Picard, while they did have families in their own way, it's Sisko that really understood the value of family. It's Sisko that understood the value of sacrifice. It's Sisko that saw potential in Nog, who was a Ferengi. He saw he's the only man that Worf is afraid of. He is the only person who even was willing to look at the bigger picture of trying to bring peace back. And I think he would have been a great figure to remain in the post-war Starfleet legacy. I just wish that they didn't do his character that dirty. But I loved Avery Brooks, how he portrayed himself in this. And I love how Avery Brooks was even thinking about quitting. But there's this words that he said to his son that he remembered. A promise is a promise. And Avery Brooks, not only as the actor who wanted to quit, but stayed on to play the role of what I think is the most memorable, heroic leaders in Starfleet history. Yes, he's done evil. He's done good. He's gone through trauma and rised above it and saved the universe. He is the prophet. He is the Sisko, and he is my captain. And I forever remember my service under the great Captain Sisko on Deep Space Nine and on the Defiant. We will always win the day.
Well, you know what? I would put him right after Kirk. Kirk is more iconic to me, but Sisko is. They're the two coins of Starfleet. You can't have one without the other. You need both. I love Sisko, and like I said, he made my list. He did make my list.
Sisko was my number one. Sisko is my number one.
But my number one has to go. And again, my criteria were singular: power, powerful, respect and/or fear, the number of people, the domain of their rule. Putting all these things together, and Sisko has many of those elements. He is all of those things to some degree, and Avery Brooks did a fantastic job of bringing him to life. But here's someone in my number one that is so embodies all of these things so much. No one has been able to bring him to life properly, and they have tried over and over in animation. They've tried it in live action movies. They've tried it in TV show. They cannot get this guy right because he is so much larger than life. He is so much deeper. There's so much to him. And his capabilities are such that literally the universe is within his grasp, and he has challenged the universe for his people and for himself. He is a leader that goes beyond the definition of hero, anti-hero, bad guy, because he's all of those things and yet none of those. He is the ultimate Machiavellian prince in action. And you love him and you hate him, and everyone respects him. And I think he is phenomenal. Forget about Tony Stark. And I understand, Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic, but no one has envisioned and encapsulated Dr. Doom. He has owned the universe. He has been the universe. He always protects. If you are Latvian, you have no better leader. You don't want another leader. He is. Latveria, Doom will own the universe, and Latveria will always be protected. It will always be successful. His people are always there. But yet, Doom is about Doom. Doom is the power. Doom takes on Mephistopheles. He takes on the Beyonder. He takes on the Triumvirate. He is fearless of everyone. And I mean, how many times have you seen comic books over and over again? There's this one panel that's been floating out there recently where Dr. Doom is yelling at some other guy. I don't know. It's a newer character. And he goes, "You insulted my wife." Nobody insults my wife. Doom insulted my wife. Wait a minute. Doom won't even insult my wife, and I fear Doom. I don't fear you. This is coming from the universal master sorcerer of the universe, of this plane. And he's like, yeah, and I fear Doom. Everyone fears Doom, even Reed Richards. And of course, Reed Richards' daughter is his niece. She's Valeria is the god niece of Doom, and she thinks of Victor Von Doom as her uncle, and she is being raised in part by him and his morals. This guy is the best. Yes, he's the only person who I think would ever top god Emperor Leto II, because he would never subjugate himself to that. He would find a way to be the number one.
Mm-hmm.
Doom is my number one.
I don't know if you're familiar with I forget which, it was set in an alternate universe, but it's a world where, like, I think some demonic forces of hell or some cosmic forces are landing on Earth, and this is an alternate Doctor Doom, not main universe Doctor Doom.
With the vampires.
I think so. I think
Mhm.
so. But Doom, like, it's nearing the end of the comic book series, but the European Union is like, because America's like part of it's occupied by these demons, and Doom comes in and everyone's shocked, like, what's he doing here? And Doom is the one who decides to lead like the expedition to stop this monstrous invasion. He's getting everybody with him, and one person saying, Doom, you can't do this. And like, no, when it comes down to saving the world, Doom will stand with this. And there was another thing too, where there was a 9/11 comic where like all the Marvel characters are reacting to what happened to the two towers. And there's a scene where like they're like the Kingpin, Magneto, and Doom are there. And even there's like a tear seen in Doom's eye where it's like, and there's in the bubble there where like, even the most greatest of villains are here, and even they know that this is wrong. And Doom is there too. Like Doom is there trying to help. And there's my other favorite interpretation of Doom is from the original 1994 Roger Corman.
Yes.
The Fantastic Four, where Doom is like, he shows the Fantastic Four stock image of an atomic bomb blowing up. And he tells a fantastic, and he writes it like this, like 12, but it's like it's done like reverse, so it looks like 21. You have 12 hours, and he does this, like pointing at it, like 12 hours to bring me the device. He makes that there. It's like, you know what, Doom? I'm glad that you wrote 12. Like, you have 12 hours to bring me this device. Doom is always an iconic villain, and I'm not a fan of Robert Downey Jr. playing him.
No, he's the perfect Iron Man. Absolutely. Yeah. He's not the perfect Doom.
No.
I don't. They should have gone with someone else. But no one's been able to get Doom right yet.
No, they can't. Well, the thing is, like, you have directors and writers currently in Hollywood that don't respect a lot of these intellectual properties, and they want to do their own twisty twist on it. And then you got Hollywood execs who are looking for short-term profit. You got a lot of incompetent people who just don't understand writing or doing good movies anymore. And there are, like, again, some films that are coming out into cinema, but I think it's more of foreign national films that are doing better than what we're getting from the crap in Hollywood, because Hollywood has more or less become a land of where art goes to die, creativity goes to die. And so that's what's up. But I like your list, and your list is about power. Mine is more about leaders who go through trauma and rise. I think it's a very good combination and compliment. So folks who are tuning in, first of all, Mike, because we've going on now for, I think, almost 3 hours or 2.5 hours now.
Well, I know we've been talking for 3 hours, but it's about 2.5. And I do know we
have to be wrapping
because we started a little bit late too.
Yes. But where can people find you? Number one, where can people follow your social media, so that way they can support your work and check you out?
Sure. You can go for Saturdays, every Saturday at 3:00. I try and do the same kind of idea. That's at Old Man Voss. You can find it on YouTube and Rumble. During the week, the normal 9 to 5 is, of course, political commentary, and that's no sound bites allowed. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I'm on everything. It's just no sound bites allowed. And I've been doing that for 18 years.
Fantastic. So, folks, now you got to vote. Type 1 for Kit. Who had the better list? I'm going to fast forward it real quick. Who was on my list starting from 10 all the way to 1? Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, Spear, Lelouch V. Britannia, Light Yagami, Kenji Noda, Neo, Edward Elric, Gul Dukat, and finally, Captain Sisko, the greatest of the Starfleet captains. Yeah. Type 1 for Kit Kat. You know what to do, internet. And now, old man Voss. Your list.
Top 10, starting from the top, is going to be Chief Judge Hershey. We've got Godzilla. We've got Captain Sisko, Riddick. Oh God, I can't even read my own handwriting here. Emperor Stalik from Emperor Stalik, Farscape. Emperor Palpatine, Kree Supreme Intelligence, Thanos, God Emperor Duke, Leto II, and Dr. Doom.
There we go. Dr. M. F. and Doom. There you go. And everyone's saying deep dish pizza, which is by far the far more superior pizza in the great Chicago, New York pizza wars. But nonetheless, I think there's any other final notes you want to put in here before we do wrap it up. Again, I want to thank you so much for at least inviting me for this conversation. It's always good to be talking about something not politics. I think we're all burnt out by it at this point. But yeah, there we go. But anything else you want to say?
No, I think it was a great little break for politics. We got the rest of the week for that, but otherwise, yes. I thank you and your audience and everybody for watching along.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button. Follow Mike. We've actually had some great conversations on the Larry Sharp Show. Check out Larry Sharp as well. He's another fellow Marine here as well. Everybody tuning in. We got music by Jesse Jett. I'm going to be pulling up some music by the man Jesse Jett himself, who has done some phenomenal stuff, by the way. And I think I'm going to play one of my personal favorites from him. It has to do with Kings of Colony, which is a response to when Biden was in Hawaii. And there you go. But Kings of Colony by Jesse Jett. So shout out to him. Mike, as always, take good care of yourselves, folks. And I might see you guys Sunday because there's going to be a special lunch brunch. My response to Trump and Joe Rogan interview, which I think is by far, if you haven't checked it out, something to sit through. 3 hours Definitely. Too. But I think it's I'm going to give my 2 cents on it. And so, folks, take good care of yourselves. And everybody, please be safe out there. Let me go and pull up this music here. Was Jesse Jett, because for some reason I'm not working, things aren't working properly. More tech issues as always. But there we go. Kings of Colony. There we go. Finally, hold on here. I'm a terrible MC right now. Little all over the place. But take good care of yourselves, folks. Much love, peace, and I'll see all of you on the flip side. Let's enjoy some music by Jesse Jett. Bye bye.
What you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. We say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, 'cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.
Room, followed by ranks of world eaters and word bearers, and the room fell silent.
Forgive my ignorance. I have been away for many years. Who is the ruling family?
The boy sitting upon the throne didn't say anything, instead letting a Kinguard soldier standing to his left speak for him.
The ruling family is House Falkier, sir. Is there a matter which we can assist you with?
Falkir.
All eyes were on Angron as he approached the throne.
I haven't heard that name in many years.
Who are you?
The soldier said in shaking fear.
The last time I stood on this planet, I was also called Thalkir. Angron Thalkir.
Angron? That's impossible. He couldn't still be alive. He fought in the Chelka Mountains nearly 100 years ago. He ran away from the battle. He left his army to die.
Ran away.
The soldier tried to speak, but was overcome with terror and couldn't form a single word. Angron grabbed the soldier by the head, lifting him up with one hand.
Left my army to die!
The nails had taken control. Angron squeezed the life out of the soldier.
You know, Angron gets a lot of stuff, but he's actually a pretty nice guy to work with. But man, all those takes are crushing my head. I still got a splitting headache, even to this very day.